Welcome, dear listener, to another quiet journey through the hidden corridors of Hogwarts history. Tonight, we will follow the long and secretive life of a man who spent decades speaking carefully chosen words while hiding his true loyalties behind cold eyes and controlled silence. Severus Snape lived surrounded by lies. Some were cruel, some were necessary. Some protected the people he hated, and others protected the memory of the person he loved most. As the candles flicker softly through the stone halls of Hogwarts, let us slowly travel through the shadows of Snape's double life, where almost nothing was ever exactly as it seemed. Before Severus Snape ever entered Hogwarts, before he stood in dark classrooms, watching nervous students stir simmering cauldrons beneath greenish light, he lived in a place that already felt half forgotten by the rest of the world. Spinner's End sat beside a polluted river near the industrial town of Cokeworth, where rows of identical brick houses leaned beneath grey skies, stained by smoke from distant mills. The streets were narrow and damp, even in summer. Broken fences sagged toward cracked sidewalks. Windows remained dark long after sunset, and the air often smelled faintly of oil, rainwater, and factory ash. It was here, in one of the worn houses near the riverbank, that Severus Snape spent his childhood. The house itself reflected the tension inside it. The wallpaper peeled at the corners. Furniture sat unevenly across warped wooden floors. Arguments traveled easily through the thin walls, especially late at night when the neighborhood had gone quiet. Long before Severus learned occlumency, long before he concealed thoughts from Voldemort himself, he learned something simpler and far more necessary. He learned how to remain silent. His father, Tobias Snape, was a muggle, bitter, harsh, and frequently angry. He carried the exhaustion of industrial life into every room he entered. His mother, Eileen Prince, had once attended Hogwarts as a witch from an old magical family. But by the time Severus knew her, much of that earlier life seemed faded and distant. Magic lingered around her like the last traces of perfume in an abandoned room. There were hints of it everywhere. Old books hidden inside drawers, strange glass bottles tucked into cupboards, a wand carefully concealed. But the brightness that might once have belonged to Eileen Prince had dimmed beneath years of unhappiness. Severus grew up between two worlds that did not fit together properly. Outside the house, he wandered the neglected streets of Spinner's End mostly alone. Other children rarely approached him. His clothes hung awkwardly from his thin frame, often mismatched or worn at the edges. His hair was already dark and difficult to manage, falling around a face that seemed older than it should have been. Even as a child, Severus carried himself cautiously, watching people before speaking to them. He learned early that attention usually brought trouble, yet beneath that silence was a mind constantly observing. He noticed things others ignored, the way people lied with their voices while revealing truth in their expressions, the way anger arrived before shouting, the way fear changed movement. These observations would later make him one of the greatest spies in wizarding history, but during childhood, they simply helped him survive. Magic also revealed itself early. Accidental bursts happened around him in moments of emotion. Toys shifted without touch. Branches snapped overhead. Objects moved slightly when he was upset. Unlike many magical children, Severus did not respond with wonder alone. He responded with fascination. Magic represented escape, power, control, a hidden world untouched by the ugliness of Spinner's End. Then, one summer afternoon, he saw Lily Evans. She sat in a playground near a patch of dying grass, laughing with her sister Petunia, while a swing moved strangely beside her. Severus watched from a distance at first, hidden partially behind bushes. He recognized the signs immediately. Lily was magical. For perhaps the first time in his life, Severus felt something stronger than caution: hope. He began watching the sisters regularly after that, not in a threatening way, though years later Petunia would remember him with discomfort. He simply observed them from hidden corners, gathering certainty. Lily made flowers open unexpectedly. She drifted slightly while jumping from swings. Strange things happened around her whenever emotions rose too high. Eventually, Severus approached her. The conversation changed the course of both their lives. Lily reacted first with curiosity, then excitement, while Petunia reacted with immediate suspicion. Severus explained the existence of magic carefully, though not without pride. For once, he possessed knowledge someone else lacked. He described Hogwarts, moving staircases, spells, and magical creatures with a quiet intensity that transformed him completely. The nervous, isolated boy from Spinner's End suddenly spoke with confidence. Around Lily, Severus became more alive than anywhere else. The two children spent long afternoons talking near the river or sitting beneath trees away from the noisy streets. Lily listened eagerly as Severus explained the wizarding world, and Severus, in turn, experienced something unfamiliar: acceptance. But even here, the pattern of concealment had already begun. Severus never fully explained his home life. He avoided discussing his father. He hid the worst arguments. He spoke proudly about magic while carefully avoiding the loneliness surrounding him. Even with Lily, truth arrived only in fragments. And slowly, another emotion grew beside friendship: resentment. Petunia's hostility toward magic irritated him deeply. Her mockery of Hogwarts and jealousy toward Lily seemed small and cruel to Severus. Yet beneath his irritation was another feeling he barely understood himself: fear that Lily might one day choose the ordinary world over the magical one. Fear that she might leave him behind. Already, Severus thought constantly about belonging. The magical world became more than fantasy in his mind. It became identity, a place where bloodlines mattered, talent mattered, knowledge mattered. Unlike the grim streets of Spinner's End, Hogwarts sounded ancient, structured, important. He imagined stone corridors lit by candles and shelves of potion ingredients waiting in silence. He imagined teachers who respected intelligence. He imagined becoming someone powerful enough that nobody would ever laugh at him again. These dreams consumed him completely. Sometimes he and Lily sat near the river, discussing Hogwarts for hours. Severus explained houses, magical subjects, Quidditch, and wand lore with remarkable certainty for someone who had never actually attended the school. Much of his knowledge came from Eileen's old books and fragmented stories from her past. Those books became sacred objects to him. He read them repeatedly beneath dim light while Tobias shouted downstairs. The Prince family name also fascinated him. Unlike Tobias Snape, the name Prince carried magical history, old pure blood ancestry, respectability. Severus clung to it privately. Years later, when he named himself the Half-Blood Prince, the title would reveal more than cleverness. It would reveal longing. Even as a child, Severus desperately wanted distance from the ordinary and painful life surrounding him. Lily remained the only bright certainty in those years. Yet even during childhood, shadows already followed Severus closely. He displayed unusual interest in darker subjects. Certain curses intrigued him. Dangerous magic fascinated him not because he enjoyed cruelty, but because power itself fascinated him. Power meant safety. Power meant control. Power meant never becoming helpless like his mother. Lily noticed this sometimes. She occasionally questioned his comments or discomfort around muggles, especially after Petunia insulted him. Severus would pull back slightly then, hiding his harsher thoughts behind awkward silence. It became a habit he would repeat throughout his life, revealing only portions of himself while concealing the rest beneath stillness. As the years passed, anticipation for Hogwarts grew. The magical school became almost mythical in their conversations. Lily imagined adventure and friendship. Severus imagined transformation. He believed Hogwarts would finally place him somewhere he belonged. But beneath that hope remained the boy from Spinner's End. Thin, lonely, angry, brilliant, watching the world carefully from dark corners, while learning how to hide every weakness behind silence. Long before Severus Snape became a spy for Dumbledore, before he lied to Voldemort himself, before he concealed loyalty beneath layers of bitterness and cruelty, he first learned deception inside a small, unhappy house beside a polluted river. And in many ways, he never truly escaped it. For a brief period of his childhood, before Hogwarts divided them into separate worlds, Severus Snape believed Lily Evans might become the one person who truly understood him. The friendship grew quietly beside the riverbanks and empty playgrounds of Cokeworth. Long afternoons passed beneath pale skies, while factory smoke drifted lazily above the rooftops. The world around them remained ordinary and worn down, but their conversations belonged somewhere else entirely. They spoke of moving staircases, floating candles, magical portraits, and hidden corridors inside a castle neither of them had ever seen. For Lily, magic felt exciting and strange. For Severus, it felt necessary. He explained everything eagerly at first: the Ministry of Magic, Quidditch, house rivalries, wand makers, forbidden forests. His voice changed whenever he described Hogwarts, becoming sharper and more animated. The shy boy who walked silently through Spinner's End disappeared whenever he discussed the magical world. In those moments, he sounded older than his years, almost scholarly. Lily noticed this transformation immediately. She laughed easily around him, asking endless questions while sunlight filtered through trees overhead. Unlike the children at school, she did not mock the strange intensity in his voice, or the way he seemed to know obscure magical facts by memory. She listened carefully. That alone made her important to him. Yet even during those peaceful afternoons, small fractures had already begun to form beneath the friendship. Petunia Evans disliked Severus almost immediately. She saw him not as mysterious or knowledgeable, but unsettling. His habit of appearing silently nearby disturbed her. His thin frame, dark eyes, and quiet observations made her uncomfortable. More than anything, Petunia hated the way Severus represented separation. Every conversation about Hogwarts seemed to pull Lily further away from the ordinary life Petunia understood. Severus returned that hostility without hesitation. Though still a child, he already viewed many non-magical people with suspicion and resentment. Years of hearing Tobias Snape shout through the walls of Spinner's End had shaped him deeply. Muggles represented weakness, cruelty, and limitation in his mind. Magic represented superiority and escape. But Severus understood instinctively that Lily would dislike hearing such thoughts spoken openly, so he concealed them. This became one of the defining patterns of his entire life. Severus rarely lied directly when young. Instead, he omitted truth carefully. He allowed Lily to see only the parts of himself she would accept most easily. Around her, he emphasized wonder and intelligence while hiding bitterness and anger beneath the surface. Sometimes those darker feelings escaped anyway. Petunia once accused Severus of spying on them from bushes near the playground. Lily defended him, but the accusation embarrassed him deeply because it was partially true. Severus watched people constantly. Observation had become instinctive. He studied expressions, conversations, movements, and emotions from a distance before approaching anyone directly. Lily interpreted this as awkwardness. In reality, it was preparation. The summer before Hogwarts' arrival letters came, their friendship deepened further. Lily had begun performing accidental magic more frequently now, and Severus guided her through it patiently. He explained that magical ability often surfaced strongly before a child attended Hogwarts. He reassured her when strange things happened. Yet beneath his calm explanations was growing fear. Severus worried constantly that Lily might not need him once they reached Hogwarts. There, she would meet hundreds of magical children from better families and happier homes. Wealthier students. More confident students. Boys like the ones Severus already imagined disliking instinctively. This fear intensified his attachment to her. Around Lily, Severus spoke more than he did anywhere else. He described magical theory far beyond what children their age usually understood. He explained wandwoods and potion ingredients, while tracing patterns absent-mindedly through dirt beside the riverbank. Lily listened with fascination, but sometimes she noticed odd details hidden within his excitement. Certain spells interested him too much. Certain dark stories amused him strangely. He occasionally mentioned curses with unsettling admiration before catching himself. Lily would frown slightly then, and Severus would quickly redirect the conversation elsewhere. Already, he was editing himself for her. Meanwhile, Petunia's jealousy worsened. She desperately wanted to attend Hogwarts herself, and wrote secretly to Albus Dumbledore asking for admission, despite lacking magical ability. When the answer came back, refusing her, humiliation hardened into resentment. She blamed Severus almost as much as magic itself. In her eyes, he had introduced Lily to a world that excluded her completely. One evening, hidden near the Evans house, Severus overheard Petunia crying about the letter. Lily tried to comfort her, but Petunia lashed out angrily, calling Severus a freak and accusing him of ruining everything. The argument stayed with Severus for years, partly because it hurt him, partly because it confirmed something he already believed. The magical and non-magical worlds could never fully coexist peacefully. One side would always fear or resent the other. Lily disagreed whenever such ideas surfaced. She defended ordinary people instinctively, insisting that being magical did not make someone better than everyone else. Severus rarely argued openly with her, but inwardly he resisted those beliefs. He had seen too much bitterness and ugliness in Spinner's End to accept them fully. The contradiction inside him continued growing. He genuinely loved Lily's kindness, warmth, and compassion. Yet many of the beliefs forming inside him stood directly opposed to the values she represented. As summer faded, anticipation for Hogwarts consumed them both. Severus explained the sorting ceremony repeatedly. He spoke admiringly of Slytherin House despite Lily's uncertainty about it. To him, Slytherin represented ambition, power, intelligence, and survival. Many famous witches and wizards had emerged from it. More importantly, Severus suspected Slytherin valued students who understood darkness rather than feared it. Lily seemed more interested in the idea of friendship and learning than power. Even then, they imagined Hogwarts differently. On the morning they left for King's Cross Station, Severus arrived carrying all his belongings in worn luggage that looked older than he was. Lily's excitement almost hid his nervousness, but not completely. Around wealthy, magical families in the station, Severus immediately became quieter again. He noticed polished trunks, expensive robes, confident parents speaking casually about Quidditch teams and ministry work. He also noticed how different he looked from them. The journey aboard the Hogwarts Express revealed the first real crack between him and Lily. Inside the compartment nearby sat James Potter and Sirius Black, already loud with confidence and amusement. Severus disliked them almost instantly. James, especially, embodied everything Severus secretly feared and envied: wealth, popularity, pure blood status without poverty attached to it, easy charm, natural confidence. When Sirius mentioned that his entire family had been in Slytherin, James mocked the house openly. Severus immediately defended it, coldly dismissing Gryffindor in return. Lily challenged him at once. The disagreement was small, almost childish, but important. For the first time, Hogwarts ceased being a shared dream and became a division waiting to happen. Severus cared deeply about houses and reputation already. Lily did not. The tension lingered quietly for the rest of the journey. Then came the sorting. Inside the Great Hall, beneath floating candles and the enchanted ceiling, Severus experienced the magical world he had imagined for years. Ancient stone walls rose around him, while professors watched from the staff table. The atmosphere felt sacred. And then Lily Evans was sorted into Gryffindor. A few moments later, Severus Snape was sorted into Slytherin. Applause erupted from separate tables, while the distance between them suddenly became physical as well as emotional. Neither child fully understood it yet, but their friendship, once formed beside quiet rivers and empty playgrounds in Cokeworth, had entered Hogwarts carrying hidden tensions already too deep to disappear. Severus still believed he could balance everything: friendship with Lily, admiration for darker magic, growing resentment toward muggles, fascination with power, loneliness, ambition. He believed these parts of himself could exist together without conflict. But Hogwarts had a way of revealing truths people tried desperately to hide. And Severus Snape, even at 11 years old, had already begun building his life around concealment. Hogwarts in the 1970s was a school filled with whispers long before Harry Potter was born. Students still crossed the Great Hall beneath floating candles and studied beside crackling fires in crowded common rooms. But outside the castle walls, the wizarding world had begun changing in darker ways. Rumors traveled through corridors, even during Severus Snape's earliest years at Hogwarts. Families disappearing. Muggle attacks blamed on mysterious followers. Powerful dark wizards gathering supporters quietly across Britain. Children heard fragments of these stories from older siblings and worried parents during holidays. Inside the castle, however, life continued with ancient routine. First years hurried through stone corridors, carrying oversized books, while ghosts drifted lazily through walls. Owls crowded the rafters during breakfast. Snow collected along the edges of the courtyard in winter, while students wrapped themselves in scarves before care of magical creatures lessons. To many children, Hogwarts still felt safe and endless. For Severus Snape, it felt transformative. Slytherin House became the first place in his life where intelligence brought admiration instead of ridicule. The dungeon common room beneath the lake glowed green through underwater windows, while silver lamps reflected softly against damp stone walls. Older students spoke confidently about magical families, advanced spells, and ambitious futures. Severus listened carefully to all of it. He adapted quickly. At first glance, Severus still seemed awkward beside wealthier pure blood students. His robes remained slightly worn. His hair stayed stubbornly untidy. Yet within weeks, many students recognized something unusual about him. He possessed extraordinary magical ability. Potion making, especially, came naturally to him. While other first years struggled to follow instructions precisely, Severus understood potion theory instinctively. He noticed ingredient interactions others missed. Tiny changes in preparation fascinated him. The difference between crushing and slicing ingredients, the precise timing of stirs, the effect of temperature on magical properties. Potions offered something his childhood rarely had: control. Inside the dungeon classrooms, surrounded by steam and glass bottles, Severus found structure. Rules existed there. Precision mattered. Intelligence mattered. Mistakes could be corrected through skill rather than luck. Professors noticed his talent early. Students noticed something else. Severus was willing to explore subjects many others avoided. The darker corners of magical theory fascinated him deeply. Jinxes, countercurses, experimental spells, forbidden potion ingredients. He spent long evenings inside the library, searching for obscure magical texts, while most students relaxed beside fires or played wizard chess. This reputation slowly attracted certain classmates toward him. Avery and Mulciber became frequent companions during his middle Hogwarts years. Both boys came from families already leaning toward pure blood supremacy and dark ideology. Around them, Severus found something dangerously comforting: approval. For the first time in his life, people respected his intelligence openly. Yet the friendship carried conditions. Conversations inside Slytherin House increasingly revolved around blood purity, magical superiority, and the rise of Lord Voldemort. Though still young, students repeated ideas absorbed from older relatives. Some spoke Voldemort's name with fear. Others spoke it with admiration. Severus listened more than he spoke. That silence often made him seem more committed than he actually was. Meanwhile, his friendship with Lily Evans began changing slowly but steadily. At Hogwarts, Lily flourished almost immediately. Gryffindor suited her warmth and confidence perfectly. She formed friendships easily and earned praise from professors through talent combined with genuine kindness. Students liked her naturally. Severus watched this transformation with complicated emotions. Part of him felt proud. Another part felt increasingly distant from her world. Their schedules separated them. Different houses meant different common rooms, different friends, different social circles. They still spoke frequently during earlier years, often studying together beside the lake or meeting in quieter corridors between classes. But the ease of childhood had faded. Lily noticed the people surrounding Severus now. Mulciber disturbed her especially. She once described him coldly as creepy, after witnessing him use dark magic casually against another student. Severus defended him immediately, dismissing the incident as a joke. Lily disagreed sharply. The argument lingered long afterward. More and more often, Severus found himself hiding parts of his life from Lily again. He avoided mentioning certain conversations inside Slytherin. He concealed how fascinated he had become by curses and hexes. He downplayed the ambitions of students openly discussing Voldemort with admiration. Instead, he showed Lily the version of himself she still wanted to believe in: brilliant, loyal, misunderstood. The concealment exhausted him gradually, though he never admitted it. At the same time, another rivalry inside Hogwarts intensified rapidly. James Potter and Sirius Black had entered Gryffindor, carrying confidence so effortless it irritated Severus instantly. Both boys were talented, wealthy, and socially admired. Teachers praised them despite frequent rule-breaking. Other students laughed at their jokes. Quidditch victories only increased their popularity further. To Severus, they represented everything the world had always denied him. James Potter especially became a constant source of resentment. The dislike between them evolved almost immediately into open hostility. Insults turned into hallway confrontations. Confrontations became public humiliations. Both boys possessed sharp intelligence and strong magical talent, making their rivalry unusually vicious even at young ages. But James rarely fought alone. Remus Lupin and Peter Pettigrew usually remained nearby, while Sirius encouraged conflict enthusiastically. Against this tightly connected group, Severus often stood isolated, except for Slytherin students Lily openly distrusted. The division shaped his identity further. During these years, Severus began creating spells of his own. Most Hogwarts students learned existing magic. Severus experimented with inventing it. Inside his school textbooks, especially his potions copy, cramped handwriting filled margins with adjustments, rewritten instructions, and entirely original magical creations. Some innovations improved potion brewing significantly. Others revealed darker impulses. Levicorpus appeared during this period, a non-verbal jinx designed to suspend victims upside down helplessly in the air. Sectum Sempra came later, more dangerous and disturbing than almost any spell invented by a Hogwarts student in modern history. The curse slashed victims with invisible blades as though struck by swords. Even years later, the spell would horrify those who witnessed its effects. Yet Severus did not create these spells from simple cruelty alone. Power fascinated him because weakness terrified him. Every humiliation from James Potter, every memory of Tobias Snape shouting through thin walls, every reminder of poverty and isolation deepened his obsession with gaining control. Magic became armor. The nickname Half-Blood Prince also emerged quietly during these years. Severus rarely used it publicly, but the identity mattered deeply to him. Half-Blood acknowledged the magical reality he could not escape. His father remained a muggle, but Prince reclaimed the part of his mother he considered valuable. Ancient magical blood, a respected wizarding name, something superior to the miserable life attached to Tobias Snape. The title revealed Severus's divided identity perfectly, ashamed of one half, desperate to elevate the other. As Hogwarts years passed, the atmosphere surrounding the school darkened further. Students disappeared from classes after family tragedies. Certain surnames carried increasing political weight. Professors exchanged worried looks during newspaper deliveries. Even Quidditch matches sometimes felt overshadowed by the sense that something dangerous was approaching beyond the castle walls. Within Slytherin House, support for Voldemort grew increasingly open among older students. Severus never fully committed himself aloud while still at school, but the path forming ahead of him became easier to see. Ambitious, pure-blood students admired his talent. Future Death Eaters respected his intelligence. Dark magic welcomed him without judgment in ways ordinary friendship never had. Lily watched all of this happening with growing concern. She still defended Severus sometimes when others mocked him, especially James Potter, but their conversations increasingly ended in frustration. Lily hated cruelty instinctively. She distrusted pure blood ideology. She disliked the casual use of dark magic among Severus's friends. Severus responded defensively every time she criticized them, partly because he believed she misunderstood him, partly because he feared she understood him perfectly. The contradiction inside him deepened year after year. He loved Lily Evans more completely than anyone else in his life, yet almost every path he chose moved him further away from her values. Inside Hogwarts, Severus Snape slowly invented himself piece by piece. Gifted student, Slytherin outsider, dark magic prodigy, humiliated rival, future Death Eater, lonely boy, hiding beneath layers of bitterness and ambition. And behind every new identity stood the same frightened child from Spinner's End, still trying desperately to become someone nobody could ever hurt again. By the time Severus Snape reached his middle years at Hogwarts, his rivalry with James Potter had become woven into the rhythm of castle life itself. Students expected arguments whenever they crossed paths. Corridors that had been quiet moments earlier suddenly filled with tension whenever James and Sirius appeared nearby. Sometimes the confrontations remained verbal. Sometimes wands emerged almost instantly. Teachers punished both sides repeatedly, but the hostility never faded. To many students, the conflict looked simple. James Potter and Sirius Black were popular Gryffindors who enjoyed humiliating a strange Slytherin boy who spent too much time buried in dark books. Others saw something different. They saw Severus as bitter, obsessive, and deeply unpleasant, provoking conflict through cold insults and fascination with dangerous magic. The truth sat somewhere uncomfortably between both versions. James Potter possessed natural charisma that made forgiveness easy. He was talented at nearly everything Hogwarts valued publicly: Quidditch, dueling, academics when he chose to apply himself. Professors often admired him despite his arrogance because he carried confidence so effortlessly. Sirius Black matched him in intelligence and recklessness, transforming ordinary rule, breaking into performances that entertained entire common rooms. Together, they moved through Hogwarts like boys convinced the world belonged to them. Severus hated them almost immediately because in many ways they represented everything he had never been allowed to become. James especially infuriated him. James came from wealth without shame attached to it. He wore confidence naturally, rather than constructing it carefully from bitterness and ambition. Even Lily laughed at James sometimes, despite her frequent annoyance with his arrogance. Severus noticed every one of those moments, and James noticed Severus noticing. The rivalry became deeply personal long before either boy fully understood why. Yet beneath the insults and hexes, another truth remained hidden. Severus watched James constantly because he envied him almost as much as he hated him. James belonged everywhere naturally. Severus belonged nowhere without effort. The Marauders, as James, Sirius, Remus Lupin, and Peter Pettigrew eventually called themselves, formed one of the strongest social groups Hogwarts had seen in years. Their friendship appeared effortless from the outside. They laughed loudly in corridors, dominated Quidditch conversations, and spent evenings together in Gryffindor Tower while students gathered around them eagerly. Severus observed all of this from a distance. Inside Slytherin House, friendships operated differently. Alliances formed around ambition, status, and shared ideology more than affection. Severus's intelligence earned respect, but not warmth. Even among his own housemates, he remained isolated in subtle ways. Too poor, too strange, too intense. Lily remained the only person who truly crossed between those separate worlds, and that made her increasingly difficult for Severus to keep. As years passed, James Potter's feelings toward Lily became impossible to ignore. He showed off constantly whenever she appeared nearby. Quidditch victories became performances directed toward her attention. Sirius teased him openly about it, while Lily rolled her eyes with visible irritation. Severus pretended not to notice, but jealousy settled into him slowly, like poison. At the same time, Lily grew increasingly disturbed by the people Severus surrounded himself with. Avery and Mulciber had begun practicing dangerous magic, casually against weaker students. Rumors spread about attacks outside Hogwarts connected to older Slytherins and Voldemort supporters. The atmosphere inside the wizarding world darkened further every year. Lily confronted Severus about it repeatedly. Each argument followed similar patterns. Lily accused his friends of cruelty. Severus defended them while minimizing incidents. Lily warned him about dark magic. Severus insisted she misunderstood. Neither fully convinced the other. And beneath every conversation lingered the growing reality that Severus no longer trusted Lily with complete honesty. He never told her how fascinated he had become by certain curses. He concealed the conversations happening inside Slytherin House about blood purity and Voldemort's rise. He edited himself constantly around her, afraid that revealing his true thoughts completely might finally destroy the friendship. At Hogwarts, secrecy had become instinctive. Then came the werewolf incident. By 5th year, Severus had already grown suspicious about Remus Lupin's monthly disappearances. His mind worked obsessively once curiosity attached itself to something. He studied patterns carefully: hospital wing visits, strange absences, the way James and Sirius disappeared alongside Lupin certain nights. Eventually, Severus concluded the truth. Remus Lupin was a werewolf. For Severus, the discovery carried enormous significance. Exposing Lupin would humiliate the Marauders publicly and potentially remove one of James Potter's closest friends from Hogwarts entirely. It also represented intellectual victory. Severus wanted proof not only because he hated them, but because uncovering secrets made him feel powerful. Sirius Black exploited that obsession recklessly. One night, Sirius told Severus exactly how to enter the tunnel beneath the Whomping Willow, leading toward the Shrieking Shack where Lupin transformed during full moons. Whether Sirius intended murder or merely horrifying humiliation remained unclear even years later. But the danger was very real. Severus followed the instructions. He entered the tunnel, believing he would finally expose the Marauders completely. Instead, he nearly died. James Potter stopped him before he reached transformed Lupin fully. The rescue saved Severus's life, but it also humiliated him in a different way. He now owed survival to the person he despised most. Dumbledore silenced the incident immediately. Severus was forbidden from revealing Lupin's condition publicly. Officially, the matter disappeared. Unofficially, the hatred between Severus and the Marauders deepened beyond repair. For Severus, the experience confirmed something he already believed. Rules protected people like James Potter while punishing people like him. The resentment hardened permanently after that, and yet the worst humiliation still waited ahead. The scene beside the Black Lake became one of the defining moments of Severus Snape's entire life. It happened near the end of 5th year beneath warm sunlight, while students relaxed outside after examinations. Groups lounged lazily on the grass beside the lake, while conversations drifted through the summer air. James Potter and Sirius Black sat beneath a tree, attracting attention effortlessly as usual. Severus passed nearby alone. What followed began almost casually. James attacked him publicly with a disarming spell, while Sirius joined immediately. Students gathered quickly, some laughing openly while Severus struggled against repeated hexes. James suspended him upside down using Levicorpus, ironically one of Severus's own invented spells. The humiliation became complete. His robes fell awkwardly. Students pointed and laughed. Sirius mocked him cheerfully, while James enjoyed the attention surrounding them. Even years later, the memory remained among the most painful moments of Severus's life. Lily arrived during the confrontation, and demanded James stop immediately. James obeyed her reluctantly. For one brief moment, Severus had the opportunity to respond differently. Lily defended him publicly, despite everything already straining their friendship. She offered kindness one final time. But humiliation overwhelmed him completely. Surrounded by laughter, fury, and shame, Severus lashed out at the nearest target. He called Lily a mudblood. The word fell into silence immediately afterward. Even James stopped smiling. For Lily, the insult carried enormous weight. It was not simply an angry remark. It represented the exact prejudice she had feared growing inside Severus for years. Suddenly, every uncomfortable conversation about Mulciber and Avery made terrible sense. Severus regretted it instantly, but some words cannot be recalled once spoken. Later, he begged Lily to forgive him beside the Gryffindor common room entrance. His desperation showed clearly. He insisted he had not meant it. Lily listened quietly before explaining what hurt most was not merely the insult itself, but the realization that Severus used such language at all. She reminded him that he called every other Muggle-born student those names regularly. Severus had no answer, because she was right. That conversation marked the true collapse of their friendship. Afterward, Severus withdrew further into himself than ever before. Hatred toward James intensified. So did resentment toward the world generally. But beneath all of it remained another painful truth. He rarely admitted even privately. He had destroyed the relationship himself. James Potter humiliated him publicly. Sirius Black nearly caused his death. The Marauders tormented him repeatedly. Yet Lily Evans left because of choices Severus made alone. The realization wounded him deeply because it contradicted the narrative he preferred believing. Severus understood suffering easily when caused by others. Understanding his own responsibility proved far more difficult. So he buried the guilt beneath anger instead. Dark magic became more appealing afterward. Slytherin friendships became more important. Future Death Eater influences strengthened around him. The divide between the boy Lily once trusted and the young man Severus was becoming widened rapidly. And somewhere beneath all the bitterness, humiliation, jealousy, and loneliness remained the frightened child from Spinner's End who had once sat beside a river explaining magic to a girl who listened kindly. That boy still existed. But with every passing year at Hogwarts, Severus Snape buried him deeper beneath resentment and secrecy. When Severus Snape left Hogwarts, Britain had already begun slipping fully into fear. The First Wizarding War no longer existed, only in whispers or newspaper rumors. Entire families disappeared overnight. Auras died during raids. The Daily Prophet printed increasingly careful headlines, avoiding certain details while still carrying the unmistakable atmosphere of panic. Some witches and wizards refused to say Voldemort's name aloud at all. For many young graduates leaving Hogwarts during those years, the future felt uncertain. For Severus Snape, the path ahead already seemed chosen. The friendships he had formed inside Slytherin House led naturally toward Voldemort's growing movement. Older students disappeared after graduation, only to reappear months later, carrying strange confidence and expensive robes. Certain pure blood families hosted private gatherings where dark conversations unfolded behind enchanted walls. Ambitious young witches and wizards viewed Voldemort not merely as dangerous, but revolutionary. Severus entered that world gradually. Part of him likely believed he had little reason not to. His friendship with Lily Evans had collapsed completely. James Potter and Sirius Black remained symbols of everything he despised. the wizarding world itself increasingly rewarded power, fearlessness, and ideological certainty. Voldemort's followers offered all three. Most importantly, they offered belonging. That need had shaped Severus nearly his entire life. At Spinner's End, he never belonged inside his own family. At Hogwarts, he belonged only partially within Slytherin House and not at all beyond it. Even his friendship with Lily had always carried the quiet fear that eventually she would see the darker parts of him clearly enough to leave. Now she already had, and so Severus moved further into darkness almost without resistance. The Death Eaters were not simply random followers gathered around a powerful dark wizard. They operated as a carefully structured movement built around secrecy, loyalty, and ideological purity. Some members came from ancient, pure blood families, eager to reclaim social dominance. Others joined out of fear. Others sought power. Some simply enjoyed cruelty. Severus entered their ranks carrying a more complicated mixture of motives. He admired intelligence and magical strength deeply, and Voldemort possessed both beyond almost anyone alive. Severus also understood what it felt like to grow up powerless and humiliated. Voldemort promised transformation, significance, control over the world, rather than helplessness within it. Yet even during these years, Severus never fully resembled the other Death Eaters. Bellatrix Lestrange embraced violence joyfully. Others enjoyed torture openly. Many sought prestige or political advantage. Severus remained colder and quieter than most of them. His strengths did not lie in spectacle or intimidation. They lay in secrecy. Voldemort recognized this quickly. Severus possessed one of the rarest and most valuable magical abilities possible during wartime. He could conceal emotion extraordinarily well. Even before mastering true occlumency, he instinctively compartmentalized thoughts and feelings better than most adults ever could. Years of hiding weakness had prepared him perfectly for espionage. He also possessed remarkable magical talent. Potion-making skills earned admiration among Death Eaters quickly. His understanding of curses, counter-curses, and magical theory surpassed many older followers. Voldemort valued competence above nearly everything else, and Severus gave him little reason for disappointment. Still, certain contradictions never disappeared entirely. Despite his growing involvement with Voldemort's movement, Severus continued carrying memories of Lily Evans almost constantly. Her rejection wounded him permanently, because part of him still viewed her as the only truly good thing his life had ever contained. That contradiction mattered deeply. Severus surrounded himself increasingly with people who despised Muggle-born witches and wizards, while secretly remaining emotionally attached to one more powerfully than anyone else in the world. He never resolved this contradiction, because resolution would have required confronting truths about himself he preferred avoiding. Instead, he divided his life into separate compartments. Among Death Eaters, Severus became colder, sharper, and more controlled. He learned when to remain silent during violent conversations. He learned how ideology functioned socially inside the group. Open hesitation invited suspicion. Enthusiasm earned trust. So Severus adapted. But adaptation slowly became performance, and performance slowly became identity. At some point during these years, Severus received the Dark Mark. The ritual permanently bound him to Voldemort's inner circle. The black serpent and skull burned into his arm represented both privilege and ownership. Only Voldemort's most trusted followers carried the mark openly. Receiving it likely felt important to Severus at first. After years of humiliation and isolation, he finally stood among powerful witches and wizards who respected his intelligence completely. Voldemort himself acknowledged his usefulness. Few experiences in Severus's earlier life had offered comparable validation, yet the cost of that belonging grew increasingly visible. The war outside Hogwarts intensified relentlessly. Muggle-born families vanished. Attacks spread through wizarding communities. Newspapers carried reports of murders, disappearances, and curses so brutal that witnesses refused to describe them fully. Fear became woven into ordinary magical life. Severus saw all of it closely now, and though he likely avoided some of the sadistic enthusiasm displayed by others, he still remained part of Voldemort's movement willingly. This truth matters deeply because later generations often preferred simplifying Severus Snape into either tragic hero or secret saint. He was neither during these years. He made conscious choices repeatedly. He entered Voldemort's service voluntarily. He admired power. He embraced darkness intellectually long before regretting its consequences personally. The distinction is important. Severus did not initially reject Voldemort because innocent people suffered. He rejected Voldemort only after Lily Potter became endangered. That selfishness haunted him forever afterward. Meanwhile, Voldemort's influence continued spreading across Britain like gathering storm clouds. Entire magical institutions became infiltrated quietly. Some ministry officials secretly sympathized with pure blood ideology while publicly denying involvement. Hogwarts itself remained relatively protected beneath Dumbledore's leadership, but even there, students felt the pressure of the war outside. Many former classmates chose sides openly now. James Potter, Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, and Lily Evans joined the Order of the Phoenix alongside Dumbledore. Severus undoubtedly learned this quickly through both rumor and Death Eater intelligence. The knowledge intensified old resentments further. James Potter had gained everything Severus once wanted: Lily's love, friendship, purpose, admiration, and Severus convinced himself repeatedly that none of it mattered anymore. But he lied to himself constantly during these years. That became another defining habit of his adult life. He claimed Lily no longer mattered while thinking about her endlessly. He embraced Death Eater ideology while still emotionally worshipping a Muggle-born witch. He surrounded himself with cruelty while secretly despising certain aspects of it. He convinced himself power would erase loneliness while growing more isolated every year. The contradictions multiplied quietly inside him. Voldemort himself likely found Severus interesting, partly because of these contradictions. Voldemort understood divided people well. Fear, shame, longing, ambition, and secrecy made excellent tools for manipulation. Severus carried all of them beneath his controlled exterior, yet Voldemort underestimated one thing: love. Not healthy love, not joyful love, but obsessive, guilty, unresolved attachment, powerful enough to survive humiliation, separation, and years of self-deception. Because even while serving among Death Eaters, Severus Snape never truly escaped Lily Evans. Certain memories remained untouched inside him. Her voice beside the river in Cokeworth, her excitement before Hogwarts, the way she defended him publicly despite his mistakes, the expression on her face after he called her mudblood. Those memories stayed hidden beneath layers of bitterness and dark ambition, like small surviving lights inside ruined rooms. And eventually, they would destroy the entire life Severus had built around Voldemort. But during these years, he could not yet see that future. Instead, he continued moving deeper into war, deeper into secrecy, deeper into lies. The frightened child from Spinner's End, who once longed only for friendship and escape, had transformed into something far more dangerous now. A gifted young Death Eater trusted by Voldemort himself. a master of concealment already learning how to bury truth beneath performance. And somewhere beneath all of it remained the terrible possibility that Severus Snape had begun lying so often he no longer fully understood himself at all. The night that changed Severus Snape's life forever began inside a crowded tavern where nobody paid much attention to him at all. The Hogshead Inn sat in Hogsmeade Village, not far from Hogwarts, rougher and dirtier than the 3 broomsticks nearby. The smell of smoke and stale drink lingered permanently inside its narrow rooms. Wizards who wished to avoid notice often gathered there because nobody asked many questions. Severus arrived carrying instructions from Voldemort himself. At some point during the First Wizarding War, Dumbledore had begun interviewing candidates for the divination position at Hogwarts. One applicant was Sybil Trelawney, granddaughter of the famous seer Cassandra Trelawney. Most people considered Sybil eccentric rather than dangerous, but rumors of genuine prophetic bloodline reached Voldemort's followers eventually. Severus went to the Hogshead searching for information. The exact details of what Voldemort expected remain uncertain. Perhaps he merely wanted knowledge about Dumbledore's activities at Hogwarts. Perhaps he hoped to uncover prophecy directly. Either way, Severus listened outside the interview room while hidden nearby, and then he heard it. The prophecy began quietly enough. The one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord approaches. Severus listened intently as Sybil Trelawney's voice transformed unnaturally, falling into the strange rhythm of true prophecy. She spoke of a child born as July ended, a child marked as Voldemort's equal, a child capable of destroying him eventually. Severus never heard the entire prophecy. Aberforth Dumbledore discovered him listening outside the door and threw him from the inn before Sybil finished speaking. But the partial prophecy alone already carried enormous significance. Severus delivered the information to Voldemort quickly afterward. At the time, he likely viewed it as valuable intelligence and little more. Prophecies fascinated dark wizards precisely because they hinted at future power struggles. Voldemort especially feared threats to his own dominance obsessively. Severus understood immediately that the prophecy mattered, but he did not yet understand the cost. Voldemort interpreted the prophecy carefully once he learned its details. A child born at the end of July to parents who had defied him 3 times already. Only 2 known families matched those conditions: Frank and Alice Longbottom, James and Lily Potter. Eventually, Voldemort chose the Potters. And in that moment, without realizing it fully yet, Severus Snape destroyed his own life. The realization came slowly. At first, perhaps he only felt unease, then dread, then absolute terror once the truth settled completely into place. Lily Potter had become a target because of information he delivered personally. Years earlier, Severus had convinced himself he no longer cared about Lily Evans. He buried memories beneath war, bitterness, and Death Eater loyalty. Yet the moment her life became endangered, every deception collapsed instantly. Love returned stronger than ideology, stronger than loyalty to Voldemort, stronger even than fear. For the first time since joining the Death Eaters, Severus panicked completely, and panic revealed the selfishness still buried inside him. When Severus approached Voldemort afterward, he did not beg for the Potters' safety equally. He begged only for Lily. This detail matters deeply because it exposes Severus with painful honesty. He did not suddenly become morally awakened by Voldemort's violence generally. Innocent families had already died throughout the war. Children had already suffered. Severus continued serving Voldemort through all of it, but Lily mattered differently. He asked Voldemort to spare her specifically. The request itself revealed extraordinary desperation. because Death Eaters rarely questioned Voldemort's decisions openly, yet Severus risked humiliation and danger by begging anyway. Voldemort agreed only vaguely, amused perhaps by the strange emotional attachment beneath the request. But Severus understood something terrifying. Voldemort's promises meant almost nothing. If Lily stood between Voldemort and the prophecy's child, she would die regardless. So Severus made the most important decision of his entire life. He went to Albus Dumbledore. The meeting took place beneath darkness and desperation. By then, Dumbledore already knew Severus served Voldemort. The old wizard had watched the war carefully for years, understanding far more than most people realized. When Severus arrived begging for help, Dumbledore immediately how frightened he truly was. The conversation that followed became one of the defining moments of wizarding history. Severus asked Dumbledore to hide Lily, protect her, save her from Voldemort somehow. But even in his panic, his request remained painfully narrow. Dumbledore reacted with visible disgust once he realized Severus only cared about Lily's survival rather than James or Harry's. "You disgust me," Dumbledore told him. The words cut deeply because they were true. Severus had spent years rationalizing cruelty, prejudice, and Death Eater ideology, while preserving one emotional exception privately in his heart. He loved Lily while serving a movement dedicated to destroying people like her. The contradiction stood exposed completely now. And yet, something remarkable happened afterward. Severus agreed to help Dumbledore anyway, not because he suddenly became noble overnight, not because his worldview transformed instantly, but because guilt and love combined into something powerful enough to break his loyalty to Voldemort permanently. For the first time in years, Severus acted against Voldemort directly. Dumbledore demanded complete commitment in return for protection. Severus accepted immediately. The choice condemned him to an existence more dangerous and miserable than almost anyone could endure. From that moment onward, Severus Snape belonged fully to neither side. He became something far more complicated, a spy. The role suited him perfectly in some ways. Years of emotional concealment, observation, and divided identity had prepared him for deception better than almost anyone alive. Yet beneath those practical advantages remained unbearable psychological cost. Every interaction became performance. Before Voldemort, Severus needed absolute control over thoughts and emotions. Any visible hesitation could mean death. Before Dumbledore and the Order, he carried the shame of former Death Eater loyalty constantly. Trust would always remain conditional around him. His entire existence transformed into hidden compartments. But before any of that fully began, Severus still clung desperately to one final hope: that Lily might survive. The Fidelius charm hid the Potters eventually, with Peter Pettigrew secretly acting as secret keeper instead of Sirius Black. Dumbledore believed the protection strong enough to hide them from Voldemort entirely. Severus likely wanted to believe this too, yet fear followed him constantly during those weeks. He understood Voldemort's obsession with defeating threats personally. He understood how relentless the Dark Lord became once convinced prophecy endangered him. Most terrifyingly, Severus understood that Voldemort trusted him enough to share dangerous information openly. Every conversation with Voldemort became torture now. Outwardly, Severus maintained perfect composure. Inwardly, he waited for disaster. Then disaster arrived. On Halloween night in 1981, Voldemort found the Potters in Godric's Hollow. The details of what Severus experienced afterward remain fragmented, but the emotional destruction is unmistakable. Somehow, he learned the truth quickly. Voldemort had fallen after attempting to kill Harry Potter. James Potter was dead. Lily Potter was dead, and Severus had caused it. No explanation could soften that reality. Without the prophecy he delivered, Voldemort would never have targeted them specifically. Every later act of heroism, sacrifice, or espionage traced backward toward that terrible moment inside the Hog's head. Severus's grief afterward became absolute. When Dumbledore later revealed memories from this period, Severus appeared shattered beyond dignity or restraint. The careful emotional control defining most of his adult life disappeared completely. He blamed himself fully because there was nobody else honest to blame. For years he had lied constantly. He lied about loyalty, about belief, about identity, about cruelty, about power. But Lily's death destroyed his ability to lie to himself any longer. Voldemort's world had not protected him from pain. Dark magic had not erased loneliness. Death Eater loyalty had not given his life meaning. Instead, his choices had led directly toward the destruction of the only person he truly loved. And so Severus Snape made another promise beneath the ruins of everything he once believed. He would protect Lily's son, not because Harry Potter resembled James. In fact, that resemblance would torment Severus for years. But Harry carried Lily's eyes, and those eyes would become constant reminders of both guilt and obligation. Dumbledore understood this immediately. The old wizard also understood something else. A man destroyed by guilt could become extraordinarily loyal if given purpose, so he accepted Severus fully into his service. From that moment onward, Severus Snape's double life truly began, not as performance alone, not as ambition, but as punishment. After Lily Potter's death, Severus Snape became a man who no longer expected happiness from the future. Something inside him had broken permanently in Godric's Hollow. The war itself changed almost overnight after Voldemort's fall. Celebrations erupted across magical Britain as frightened families emerged cautiously from hiding. Wizards gathered in crowded streets speaking Voldemort's name aloud again for the first time in years. The Ministry declared victory. Newspapers printed photographs of smiling survivors, beside headlines announcing the Dark Lord's disappearance. But Severus existed outside those celebrations entirely. For everyone else, the war had ended. For him, punishment had only begun. The guilt settled into every part of his life with exhausting permanence. Sleep became difficult. Silence became heavier. Memories replayed endlessly behind his eyes. Lily standing beside the river in Cokeworth. Lily defending him near the Black Lake. Lily turning away after he called her mudblood. And finally, Lily dead, because of information he carried to Voldemort personally. No amount of grief could alter that truth. Dumbledore understood immediately that remorse alone would not sustain Severus long term. Guilt without purpose eventually destroys people completely. So the old wizard gave him something else instead. A mission. Protect Harry Potter. At first, Severus resisted the idea emotionally. Harry represented unbearable contradiction. The boy carried Lily's eyes, but James Potter's face. Every glance at him would reopen old wounds. Yet Severus agreed because refusal was impossible. Protecting Harry became the closest thing to atonement he believed he deserved. Dumbledore also recognized another crucial fact. Voldemort might return someday. Many witches and wizards believed the Dark Lord gone forever after Halloween night in 1981. But Dumbledore remained unconvinced. Too many strange details surrounded Voldemort's disappearance. His body vanished. Certain forms of magic remained poorly understood. Most importantly, Dumbledore knew how deeply Voldemort feared death. If Voldemort returned eventually, a spy inside his ranks would become invaluable, and nobody alive suited that role better than Severus Snape. The arrangement demanded extraordinary precision from the beginning. Publicly, Severus remained a former Death Eater who escaped Azkaban because Dumbledore testified on his behalf. This alone made many people distrust him permanently. Aurors remembered the war too clearly. Members of the Order of the Phoenix viewed him with varying levels of suspicion and disgust. Some likely believed Dumbledore dangerously naive for protecting him at all. Severus accepted that hatred almost passively, partly because he believed he deserved it, partly because emotional isolation already felt familiar. Dumbledore brought Severus to Hogwarts, not merely as protected witness or hidden ally, but eventually as a teacher. The position surprised many people. Allowing a former Death Eater near children seemed reckless to outsiders, yet Dumbledore understood several important things simultaneously. First, Hogwarts offered protection through ancient magic and Dumbledore's direct influence. Second, Severus needed structure to survive psychologically. Third, teaching potions suited his abilities perfectly. So Severus Snape returned to Hogwarts, not as lonely student this time, but as professor. The castle had changed surprisingly little. Candles still floated above the Great Hall. The moving staircases still shifted unpredictably. Students hurried through corridors carrying books, while portraits argued lazily inside golden frames. Yet Severus experienced the castle differently now. Every hallway carried ghosts of memory. The Black Lake recalled humiliation. Certain classrooms reminded him of Lily's laughter. Gryffindor Tower represented a world forever closed to him. Even the grounds themselves seemed haunted by younger versions of people long dead. Severus moved through all of it, carrying absolute emotional restraint. This restraint soon became one of his defining characteristics. Most people at Hogwarts saw him as cold because coldness appeared safer than honesty. Emotions complicated espionage. Attachments created vulnerabilities. Severus had learned this lesson brutally. The fewer feelings visible externally, the less power others possessed over him. Occlumency strengthened this transformation further. Though Severus already concealed emotion instinctively, Dumbledore encouraged him to refine those abilities into true magical discipline. Occlumency involved more than simply blocking thoughts. It required reorganizing the mind itself. Certain memories needed concealment behind carefully constructed barriers. Emotional reactions required suppression before they fully formed. For Severus, the practice came disturbingly naturally. Years of hiding fear from Tobias Snape. Years of concealing resentment from Lily. Years of performing confidence inside Slytherin House. All of it prepared him for advanced mental control, better than formal magical training alone ever could. Eventually, Severus became one of the greatest Occlumens alive. This skill would later allow him to deceive Voldemort himself repeatedly, despite the Dark Lord's mastery of legilimency. Yet the psychological cost remained severe. Occlumency rewarded emotional compartmentalization constantly. Memories became isolated behind barriers. Vulnerability became dangerous. Over time, Severus lost the ability to express ordinary warmth naturally, even when situations might have benefited from it. He understood emotion intellectually better than socially. Teaching amplified this problem. As potions master, Severus quickly developed a fearsome reputation among students. His classroom reflected precise control. Bottles gleamed beneath dim dungeon light, while cauldrons simmered in careful rows. Every ingredient possessed exact purpose. Every mistake carried consequence. Students feared him almost immediately. Some professors inspired affection. Others inspired admiration. Severus inspired tension. Yet beneath the harshness, another reality remained hidden. Potions mattered deeply to him. because they represented mastery through intelligence rather than popularity or inherited status. In the dungeon classroom, Severus controlled an environment where precision outweighed charm completely. He demanded perfection, partly because he feared chaos, and internally, chaos never stopped consuming him. Dumbledore visited him often during those early years at Hogwarts. Their relationship remained unusually complex. Trust existed between them, but not comfort. Dumbledore saw Severus more clearly than almost anyone else ever would, including parts Severus preferred hidden. The old wizard understood that guilt motivated him far more effectively than ideology. Sometimes their conversations turned toward Harry Potter, still growing up away from the wizarding world with the Dursleys. Dumbledore monitored the child carefully from afar, while Severus reacted with complicated silence whenever Harry's name arose. The resentment toward James Potter had survived death itself, yet so had love for Lily. The contradiction exhausted him endlessly. Outside Hogwarts, the surviving Death Eaters faced imprisonment, denial, or concealment. Some escaped Azkaban through ministry influence and wealth. Others claimed they acted under imperious curses. Bellatrix Lestrange and her closest allies remained fanatically loyal to Voldemort even after his disappearance. Severus occupied a far stranger position. Publicly, he had betrayed Voldemort before the end. Secretly, Dumbledore protected him. Yet if Voldemort ever returned, Severus would need to convince surviving Death Eaters of his loyalty again somehow. This reality shaped every aspect of his life moving forward. He could never fully abandon his old identity, because eventually he might need to reclaim it convincingly. The role of spy demanded constant preparation, even during peacetime, so Severus cultivated ambiguity deliberately. Students whispered about his past. Teachers speculated privately. Certain ministry officials distrusted him openly. Severus rarely defended himself against rumors, because uncertainty actually protected him strategically. If people feared him slightly, they asked fewer dangerous questions. And beneath all of this existed another difficult truth. Part of Severus still understood Voldemort's appeal intellectually. He no longer supported the Dark Lord's goals after Lily's death, but ideological habits do not disappear overnight. Bitterness toward Muggles remained. Distrust lingered. Arrogance survived. Severus's transformation after Godric's Hollow was real, but incomplete. This complexity made him believable later as double agent because the darkness inside him never vanished entirely. He simply redirected it. Years passed quietly at Hogwarts after Voldemort's fall. Students graduated. New first years arrived each September beneath floating candles. Quidditch seasons came and went. Snow collected against castle windows during winter, before melting into spring rain beside the Black Lake. Severus remained there through all of it, like a shadow moving between classrooms. Most students never guessed how carefully he watched the world outside Hogwarts. Every rumor about dark magic mattered. Every disappearance attracted attention. Every sign suggesting Voldemort's lingering influence became important. Dumbledore relied increasingly on Severus's judgment because few people understood former Death Eaters more intimately. And always beneath those responsibilities lingered the promise made after Lily's death: protect Harry Potter. The promise defined Severus more completely than almost anything else eventually. It shaped decisions, loyalties, and sacrifices across decades. Yet it also trapped him psychologically inside grief that never healed properly. Lily became frozen in memory permanently, not as complicated adult woman with flaws and contradictions of her own, but as symbol. Redemption, punishment, lost possibility. Severus built the rest of his life around that memory. And because of this, The double life he created beneath Dumbledore's guidance became more than espionage. It became identity itself. Teacher and spy, protector and former Death Eater, cruel man carrying secret loyalty. Every mask concealed another beneath it. And over time, even Severus Snape himself sometimes seemed uncertain where performance ended and truth began. For nearly a decade after Voldemort's fall, Severus Snape existed at Hogwarts, like a permanent storm cloud drifting through stone corridors. Students learned quickly to lower their voices whenever he passed. First years entering the dungeon classroom for the first time often sat rigidly behind cauldrons, while green flames reflected across blackened walls. The air smelled constantly of herbs, smoke, and simmering potion ingredients. Glass bottles lined shelves from floor to ceiling, filled with substances strange enough to unsettle even older students. And at the center of it all stood Professor Snape. His appearance alone unsettled many children immediately. Tall and thin, wrapped in dark robes that swept behind him like shadows, Severus moved through the classroom with unnatural quietness. His black eyes missed almost nothing. A single raised eyebrow from him could silence entire rooms more effectively than shouting from other teachers. Most students feared him long before they truly knew him. In many ways, Severus encouraged this deliberately. Fear created distance. Distance created safety. Warmth required vulnerability, and vulnerability remained dangerous in Severus's mind even years after the First Wizarding War ended. Somewhere deep beneath his cold exterior remained the terrified understanding that caring openly for someone could destroy everything. So he built himself into someone difficult to love. Inside the classroom, this transformation appeared complete. Severus demanded absolute precision from students regardless of age. Instructions had to be followed exactly, ingredients prepared properly, timing maintained carefully. Potions, unlike charms or transfiguration, punished carelessness immediately. Cauldrons exploded. Toxic fumes emerged. Certain mixtures became permanently dangerous through minor errors. Severus understood this world intimately. Potions represented order in ways human relationships never had. Unlike people, ingredients followed rules. Unlike emotions, potion reactions could be predicted through knowledge and skill. So he taught with harsh intensity, because mistakes genuinely mattered to him. Yet his methods often crossed beyond strictness into cruelty. Neville Longbottom became favorite target almost immediately after arriving at Hogwarts years later. But even before Harry Potter's generation, Severus intimidated weaker students relentlessly. Partly this reflected impatience, partly unresolved bitterness, and partly projection. Severus despised incompetence because helplessness reminded him too much of himself as child in Spinner's End. Students who lacked confidence irritated him because confidence itself remained something he spent his entire life constructing artificially. The contradictions inside him continued shaping everything he did. Many students assumed Severus favored Slytherin House unfairly, and in certain ways they were correct. Slytherins received softer criticism. He defended them more readily during conflicts with other houses. Detentions sometimes disappeared mysteriously when involving Slytherin students. Yet the favoritism also reflected complicated memory. Slytherin House had once given Severus belonging when almost nowhere else did. Even after Voldemort's fall corrupted the house's reputation publicly, Severus remained fiercely protective of its students. He understood how easily outsiders simplified Slytherins into villains, while ignoring the loneliness, ambition, and insecurity often hidden beneath their arrogance. At the same time, however, Severus sometimes repeated the same emotional damage he once suffered. He humiliated students publicly. He used sarcasm as weapon. He rarely offered encouragement openly, even when students succeeded. Compliments from Severus became so rare that many children remembered them for years afterward. This emotional harshness created one of the great contradictions surrounding Severus Snape. He spent years protecting Hogwarts students secretly, while simultaneously becoming one of the most feared teachers inside the castle. Dumbledore likely understood the contradiction better than anyone else. The old headmaster rarely interfered directly with Severus's teaching style, despite complaints from parents and students. Some people later questioned this decision heavily. Why allow someone so emotionally severe near children at all? Part of the answer lay in trust. Dumbledore knew Severus would protect Hogwarts with absolute loyalty if danger ever returned. He also understood that Severus's cruelty emerged less from sadism than from emotional damage left unresolved for decades. Still, understanding did not erase consequences. Students experienced Professor Snape as he truly appeared, not as hidden, tragic figure. Meanwhile, beneath ordinary school life, Severus continued living inside constant strategic preparation. Voldemort had vanished physically after Godric's Hollow, but many former Death Eaters remained free. Lucius Malfoy returned comfortably into high society through wealth and political influence. Others escaped imprisonment through lies about imperious curses. Bellatrix Lestrange and several fanatics entered Azkaban, while still believing firmly that Voldemort would return eventually. Severus watched all of this carefully. Though working for Dumbledore secretly now, he never fully severed awareness of the old network surrounding Voldemort's followers. Information moved quietly through Wizarding Britain, even during peacetime. Rumors traveled inside ministry offices, old pure blood families, and certain dark corners of Nocturne Alley. Severus listened constantly, because one terrible reality shaped every decision he made. If Voldemort returned, Severus would need to convince him of loyalty again immediately. That requirement influenced everything about his public identity. He could not appear openly redeemed or emotionally transformed. If former Death Eaters viewed him as fully aligned with Dumbledore's ideals, future infiltration would become impossible. So Severus maintained ambiguity carefully. His bitterness remained visible. His dislike of Harry Potter's father remained genuine. His harshness discouraged emotional closeness naturally. In many ways, being unpleasant protected his usefulness as spy. Even his colleagues rarely understood him fully. Minerva McGonagall respected Severus's intelligence but distrusted aspects of his temperament. Other professors tolerated him cautiously. Only Dumbledore saw the entire structure beneath the surface. And even Dumbledore occasionally manipulated Severus ruthlessly. Their relationship became increasingly complex across those quiet Hogwarts years. Dumbledore relied on Severus heavily, while also keeping emotional distance where necessary. The old wizard understood guilt motivated Severus more effectively than friendship ever could. Sometimes they discussed Harry Potter privately. The boy remained hidden with the Dursleys throughout childhood, while magical Britain mythologized him constantly. Newspapers called Harry the boy who lived. Wizards whispered stories about Voldemort's defeat in crowded shops and ministry corridors. Entire generations grew up viewing Harry almost as living symbol. Severus hated those stories instinctively, partly because James Potter's son received admiration effortlessly before doing anything personally, partly because every mention of Harry reopened memory of Lily's death. Yet beneath the resentment remained unwavering promise: protect the boy. This obligation shaped Severus's actions even during years when Harry remained far away from Hogwarts entirely. Dumbledore occasionally used Severus for protective tasks involving dark, magical threats or lingering Death Eater activity. The work demanded secrecy constantly. No recognition ever followed. That suited Severus in some ways, because he no longer trusted admiration. Praise felt temporary and dangerous. Better to remain feared than emotionally vulnerable. Still, loneliness surrounded him heavily during these years. Unlike the Marauders once had, Severus possessed no close circle of friendship. He rarely relaxed socially with colleagues. Even within Hogwarts, he moved through corridors mostly alone. Students vanished during holidays, while professors traveled or visited family. Severus often remained inside the castle. The empty Hogwarts corridors during winter became strangely reflective places. Snow gathered silently against high windows, while candlelight flickered across deserted stone walls. Severus spent many evenings alone in dungeon classrooms, adjusting potion recipes or marking essays beside green firelight. Sometimes memories returned strongest during those quiet nights. Lily laughing beside the Black Lake before everything collapsed between them. The train ride to Hogwarts, her voice asking difficult questions he avoided answering honestly. Over time, these memories transformed strangely inside him. Lily herself became less human and more symbolic. She represented innocence lost, redemption impossible to fully earn, and punishment impossible to escape. Severus carried her memory almost religiously by then, and because of this, every protective act toward Hogwarts students remained indirectly connected to her. Even children he disliked received protection, because Lily would have wanted it. That reality became especially important whenever danger threatened the castle. Though Voldemort remained absent physically throughout most of the 1980s and early 1990s, dark magic never disappeared entirely from Britain. Certain curses resurfaced occasionally. Illegal potion trades continued. Hidden supporters still whispered about Voldemort's eventual return. Severus prepared constantly for that possibility. His mastery of occlumency deepened further during these years. He practiced compartmentalization so thoroughly that emotional reactions became increasingly difficult to read entirely. Students often described his face as unreadable, because in many ways it truly was. He had trained himself to reveal almost nothing unintentionally. This ability made him one of the most dangerous men in the wizarding world. It also made ordinary human connection nearly impossible. By the time Harry Potter finally arrived at Hogwarts in 1991, Professor Severus Snape had spent years constructing himself into carefully controlled contradiction. Teacher and spy, cruel protector, former Death Eater carrying secret loyalty to Dumbledore, a man feared by children while quietly helping safeguard the castle around them. And beneath every layer still remained the lonely boy from Spinner's End, who once believed magic might finally allow him to become someone worthy of love. When Harry Potter first entered the Great Hall at Hogwarts, Severus Snape experienced something close to shock. For years, Harry had existed only as distant obligation and painful symbol. A child hidden far away among muggles, while the wizarding world built legends around him. Severus imagined him abstractly when necessary, usually with resentment attached. James Potter's son, the boy whose survival destroyed Voldemort, the living reminder of Lily's death. But abstract thoughts differed completely from reality. The moment Severus looked directly at Harry during the sorting feast, the past returned with almost unbearable force. James Potter stared back at him through Lily Evans's eyes. The resemblance unsettled Severus immediately, because it split memory in two directions at once. Harry carried James's untidy black hair, narrow face, and awkward frame so precisely that seeing him felt almost like seeing a ghost of Hogwarts years long, buried. Yet Lily's eyes transformed the resemblance into something far more painful. For one brief instant, Severus simply stared. Harry noticed the look without understanding it. Students later described Severus's first impression on Harry as hatred. But the truth was more complicated and far more dangerous emotionally. Severus experienced grief, resentment, shock, guilt, and protectiveness simultaneously within seconds. So he responded the only way he knew how, by hiding everything beneath coldness. From the very beginning, Severus treated Harry harshly. Some of that hostility emerged naturally from old resentment toward James Potter. Harry walked, spoke, and even flew in ways that constantly reminded Severus of his school rival. Watching Harry break rules alongside friends reopened memories Severus had spent years trying unsuccessfully to bury. But another part of the hostility served different purpose entirely. Distance protected both of them. If Severus became emotionally attached to Harry openly, his judgment might weaken. Worse, other people might notice. Voldemort's surviving followers still existed across Britain, even during those relatively peaceful years. Severus understood better than anyone that appearances mattered constantly, so he made himself Harry's enemy publicly. The first potions lesson established this pattern clearly. The dungeon classroom remained dim beneath greenish light, while students unpacked ingredients nervously. Harry entered already carrying enormous reputation, despite knowing almost nothing about the magical world. Most teachers approached him with curiosity or kindness. Severus did neither. Instead, he questioned Harry aggressively before the class, asking advanced potion theory questions no first year could reasonably answer. What would happen if powdered root of asphodel were added to an infusion of wormwood? Where to find bezoars? The difference between monkshood and wolfsbane? Harry knew none of the answers. Severus humiliated him calmly afterward, while ignoring Hermione Granger's raised hand despite her obvious eagerness. To students witnessing the scene, Professor Snape simply appeared unfair and cruel. Privately, however, the moment carried layers of hidden meaning. The potion ingredients Severus mentioned together formed symbolic associations with death and regret. Asphodel and wormwood connected historically to grief and bitter sorrow. Whether intentional or unconscious, the questions revealed emotional truth hidden beneath his cold behavior. Severus looked at Harry Potter and thought immediately of Lily's death. Meanwhile, Harry himself quickly concluded that Professor Snape hated him for mysterious reasons. That misunderstanding benefited Severus strategically in many ways. Harry avoided seeking emotional closeness. Other teachers rarely questioned Severus's coldness toward the famous student, because old house rivalries between Gryffindor and Slytherin already explained enough superficially. Only Dumbledore understood the full complexity beneath the tension. Yet despite the hostility, Severus began protecting Harry almost immediately. The first major example occurred during Harry's very first Quidditch match. As Harry flew above the stadium, searching for the golden snitch, Professor Quirrell secretly attempted to curse his broomstick. The enchantment caused violent bucking movements that nearly threw Harry from enormous height. Panic spread through the stands while students screamed below. Severus reacted instantly. From the opposite side of the stadium, he began performing counter-curses continuously while maintaining visual focus on Harry. The task demanded concentration because Quirrell's dark magic fought actively against him. Severus barely noticed Hermione accidentally setting his robes on fire during the confusion. His attention remained fixed entirely on keeping Harry alive. Nobody understood this afterward, Harry himself believed Severus caused the attack originally because Quirrell manipulated suspicion carefully. Severus's dark appearance and unpleasant personality made him easy villain in the minds of frightened children. Even Hermione and Ron accepted the misunderstanding temporarily. Severus allowed it. Correcting them would require revealing too much. This pattern repeated constantly throughout Harry's early years at Hogwarts. Severus protected him repeatedly while appearing hostile almost every time. When Harry wandered near danger, Severus watched carefully from distance. During suspicious incidents involving the Philosopher's Stone, Severus investigated Quirrell relentlessly, despite widespread assumptions that he himself wanted the stone. His behavior appeared threatening, partly because he deliberately cultivated threatening reputation already. But privately, he suspected Voldemort's influence long before others understood the truth. Quirrell especially disturbed him. Something about the timid professor felt wrong beneath the surface. Severus observed him constantly throughout the school year, testing reactions and monitoring behavior carefully. At one point, Quirrell's attempted curse during the Quidditch match nearly revealed too much openly. Afterward, Severus confronted him directly in the Forbidden Forest. Harry overheard fragments of the conversation later, without understanding context. Severus pressured Quirrell harshly, demanding loyalty clarification while threatening consequences. Harry interpreted the exchange as proof Severus wanted access to the Philosopher's Stone. In reality, Severus attempted to determine how deeply Quirrell had already fallen under Voldemort's influence. The irony surrounding these events shaped much of Severus's relationship with Harry permanently. Almost every protective act looked suspicious. Almost every moment of genuine concern appeared cruel externally. And because Severus refused emotional vulnerability completely, Harry rarely questioned the misunderstandings. At the same time, Severus genuinely struggled emotionally around Harry constantly. The resemblance to James Potter triggered old bitterness reflexively. Harry's natural talent for Quidditch especially irritated him, because James had dominated the sport similarly at Hogwarts. Watching Harry fly with effortless instinct reopened memories Severus hated revisiting. Yet Lily remained present in every interaction too. Sometimes Harry looked directly at Severus with Lily's eyes while asking ordinary classroom questions, and for brief moments, the professor's emotional control visibly tightened. Students rarely noticed these tiny reactions, but they existed. The contradictions exhausted him endlessly. Severus wanted Harry safe because of Lily. Severus disliked Harry because of James. And beneath both emotions lingered another truth Severus rarely admitted even privately. Harry himself had done nothing wrong. The boy inherited hatred rooted entirely in old wounds and unresolved grief. Yet Severus could not separate past from present emotionally. During Harry's first year, another dangerous incident deepened the tension between them further. After Harry, Ron, and Hermione passed through magical protections guarding the Philosopher's Stone beneath Hogwarts, Severus arrived too late to stop Quirrell directly. Voldemort nearly returned physically that night through Quirrell's body. Afterward, Dumbledore praised Harry publicly for bravery. Severus likely found the celebration complicated emotionally. On one hand, Harry genuinely prevented Voldemort's return. On the other hand, watching James Potter's son admired by the entire school inevitably stirred old resentment again. Severus understood courage intellectually, but distrusted public hero worship instinctively, because Hogwarts once celebrated James Potter similarly. Still, Harry survived, and survival remained Severus's primary responsibility. The following years only intensified these contradictions further. During Harry's second year, the Chamber of Secrets reopened, while suspicion spread across Hogwarts. Severus watched events carefully again, protecting students quietly wherever possible, while publicly maintaining cold authority. When Harry spoke Parseltongue publicly during the dueling club incident, fear spread rapidly through the school. Severus noticed something else instead. Harry looked terrified rather than proud. Moments like these complicated Severus's assumptions repeatedly. The more he observed Harry closely, the more difficult it became to reduce him entirely into reflection of James Potter. Harry carried arrogance occasionally, yes, recklessness too, but he also possessed Lily's instinctive compassion and moral stubbornness. Severus hated recognizing those similarities, because recognizing them made emotional distance harder to maintain. Yet he maintained it anyway. Sarcasm became shield, cruelty became armor. Public hostility disguised private loyalty so effectively that even Harry himself never imagined the full truth during those years. And perhaps most painfully of all, Severus likely believed this misunderstanding necessary. If Harry despised him, then protecting the boy required less emotional vulnerability. If Harry viewed him only as unfair teacher rather than secret guardian, Severus could continue functioning behind layers of concealment safely. The tragedy was that these choices slowly ensured nobody truly understood him at all. To students, Professor Snape remained frightening and vindictive. To Harry, he remained enemy. To surviving Death Eaters, he remained suspiciously loyal former ally waiting in shadows. Only Dumbledore saw the entire structure beneath the performance. And even Dumbledore understood that Severus's hatred and protectiveness toward Harry Potter had become inseparably tangled together now. Every glance at the boy forced Severus to relive the entire ruined history of his own life. The friendship beside the river in Cokeworth, the humiliation near the Black Lake, the prophecy at the Hog's Head, the bodies in Godric's Hollow. All of it lived inside Harry Potter's face. So Severus protected him the only way he knew how. From a distance, through bitterness, behind lies. For many years after Voldemort vanished in Godric's Hollow, Severus Snape lived with a strange and fragile kind of balance. Hogwarts remained standing. Students attended classes beneath floating candles. Quidditch matches filled weekends with cheering crowds and cold autumn wind sweeping across the towers. The Ministry rebuilt itself slowly after the terror of the First Wizarding War. People married, raised children, and attempted to believe darkness had truly ended. Yet beneath that ordinary rhythm, Severus never trusted peace completely. He understood Voldemort too well. Men who feared death as deeply as Voldemort did rarely disappeared quietly forever. Somewhere beyond public knowledge, Severus remained convinced that unfinished danger still lingered. Dumbledore believed the same thing, though few others fully understood the old headmaster's caution during those years. Then, slowly, signs began returning. At first, they appeared small enough for most people to dismiss. Strange magical disturbances, whispers about dark activity in forests and abandoned places, creatures behaving unnaturally, disappearances connected to forbidden magic. Severus listened carefully to all of it, and every rumor carried terrifying implication. If Voldemort truly returned someday, Severus would once again need to stand before him and lie convincingly enough to survive. No other task in his life demanded greater precision. By Harry Potter's 4th year at Hogwarts, the balance finally shattered completely. The Triwizard Tournament brought international schools, ministry officials, journalists, and dangerous magical events back into Hogwarts. Excitement filled the castle for months as students speculated endlessly about champions and dragons. Yet beneath the spectacle, Severus sensed growing unease almost immediately. Alastor Moody's arrival especially disturbed him. The famous aura behaved strangely from the beginning. Though others accepted Moody's paranoia as natural eccentricity, Severus noticed inconsistencies. Certain reactions felt wrong. Certain conversations carried hidden tension. Years of espionage sharpened Severus's instincts beyond ordinary suspicion. Meanwhile, Harry Potter somehow emerged as fourth Triwizard Champion, despite being underage. The entire situation felt manipulated. Severus watched events carefully while maintaining outward composure, but inwardly, his fears intensified steadily. Dumbledore shared those concerns privately. Something dangerous moved beneath the surface of Hogwarts again. And then, at the end of the tournament, Voldemort returned. The news arrived not through newspapers or ministry announcements at first, but through Harry himself after surviving the graveyard in Little Hangleton. Cedric Diggory lay dead. Peter Pettigrew had restored Voldemort to physical form using dark ritual. Death Eaters gathered again beneath the Dark Mark for the first time in years. Everything Severus prepared for suddenly became real. Dumbledore summoned him almost immediately after Harry's return. Their conversation carried enormous weight because both men understood exactly what needed to happen next. Voldemort would call his followers back one by one. Every surviving Death Eater marked with the Dark Mark would feel it burning again, including Severus. Returning to Voldemort demanded extraordinary courage, because failure meant torture or death almost certainly. Voldemort trusted very few people completely, and Severus's years at Hogwarts under Dumbledore's protection already created suspicion naturally. Yet Severus agreed without hesitation. The mission mattered too much now. Before leaving Hogwarts that night, Severus likely understood one terrible truth clearly. From this moment onward, every conversation, every facial expression, every hesitation could become fatal. Voldemort's legilimency abilities surpassed almost anyone alive. Simple lies would never protect Severus. Only perfect mental discipline could. Years of occlumency training now became essential for survival. When Severus finally returned to Voldemort, the atmosphere surrounding the Dark Lord had changed since the First Wizarding War. Voldemort's new body appeared pale and snake-like beneath candlelight, while terrified followers knelt around him in silence. Fear ruled the gathering completely. Failure received punishment publicly now. Loyalty required constant demonstration. And Severus arrived late. Bellatrix Lestrange remained imprisoned in Azkaban during these earliest moments after Voldemort's return, but other Death Eaters already questioned Severus's absence immediately. Lucius Malfoy likely watched carefully. Avery too. Some remembered Severus's earlier closeness to Voldemort and expected explanations. Voldemort demanded them personally. This conversation became one of the greatest performances of Severus Snape's life. Standing before the most dangerous legilimens in the world, Severus constructed layered deception carefully, using partial truth rather than complete lies. This strategy proved essential because Voldemort distrusted falsehood instinctively. Pure invention risked exposure. So Severus told Voldemort carefully selected truths instead. Yes, he had remained at Hogwarts under Dumbledore. Yes, Dumbledore trusted him. Yes, he had avoided Azkaban because Dumbledore defended him after the war. But Severus framed all of this as strategic loyalty to Voldemort rather than genuine betrayal. Remaining close to Dumbledore, he claimed, positioned him perfectly as spy once Voldemort returned. The explanation carried dangerous brilliance because it sounded exactly like something Voldemort himself would admire. Patience, manipulation, long-term infiltration. Most importantly, Severus's hatred toward Harry Potter remained visibly genuine, which strengthened credibility enormously. Voldemort understood hatred easily. Watching Severus speak coldly about James Potter's son likely reassured him emotionally, even while other uncertainties lingered. Yet surviving this encounter required more than persuasive speech. It required complete control over memory itself. Occlumency allowed Severus to shield crucial truths behind carefully sealed barriers. His remorse over Lily, his loyalty to Dumbledore, his protective actions toward Harry, all needed concealment every second Voldemort examined him mentally. The strain must have been exhausting beyond ordinary imagination. One emotional mistake could reveal everything. Still, Voldemort accepted Severus back into his service, partly because the explanation sounded convincing, partly because Severus remained too valuable magically to discard casually, and partly because Voldemort underestimated love repeatedly throughout his life. To Voldemort, Severus's emotional history with Lily Potter appeared insignificant compared to ambition and self-preservation. The Dark Lord genuinely could not understand why love might outweigh fear or power in someone's decisions. That misunderstanding protected Severus repeatedly. Back at Hogwarts, Severus resumed teaching almost immediately after rejoining Voldemort publicly. Students noticed little difference externally. He still moved through corridors like dark shadow. Potions classes remained tense. Detentions continued. But internally, every aspect of his life had changed again. Now, he existed between two masters simultaneously. Dumbledore relied on him for information about Voldemort's plans, movements, and followers. Voldemort relied on him for intelligence from Hogwarts and the Order of the Phoenix. Severus balanced both roles constantly, while revealing enough truth to each side to remain believable. The complexity became nearly unbearable. Every report required calculation. Give Voldemort too little information, and suspicion grows. Give too much, and innocent people die. Every choice carried moral and strategic consequences simultaneously. Meanwhile, Voldemort's control over magical Britain expanded steadily. The Ministry refused admitting full truth publicly at first, allowing Death Eaters valuable time to reorganize. Attacks resumed across the country. Murders increased. Fear returned gradually to wizarding society, just as it had during Severus's youth. At Hogwarts, students sensed tension growing again, despite Dumbledore's efforts to maintain normalcy. Harry Potter especially became central target of both prophecy and politics now. The Ministry attempted discrediting him publicly, while Voldemort obsessed over destroying him privately. Severus watched all of this with complicated emotional distance. Protecting Harry remained essential. Liking him remained impossible. During Harry's 5th year, another dangerous challenge emerged. Voldemort's mental connection with Harry deepened unexpectedly after the Dark Lord's return. Through visions and dreams, Voldemort could potentially access information from Harry's mind and vice versa. Dumbledore responded by assigning Severus to teach Harry occlumency. The decision created immediate disaster emotionally. Harry hated Severus already. Severus found prolonged interaction with Harry exhausting because James Potter's personality surfaced more strongly as the boy grew older. Teaching occlumency required trust, discipline, and emotional vulnerability from both teacher and student. Neither possessed patience for the task. The lessons quickly became hostile. Harry struggled to empty his mind properly, while Severus criticized him harshly. Worse still, accidental glimpses into each other's memories shattered remaining emotional boundaries between them. Harry witnessed fragments of Severus's humiliations during childhood and adolescence, including the attack beside the Black Lake. For the first time, Harry saw young Severus not as cruel professor, but as isolated victim. Severus reacted with fury afterward, because privacy mattered desperately to him. His entire adult identity depended on controlled concealment. Allowing Harry access to buried memories felt intolerable. The lessons ended unsuccessfully, and tragically, that failure contributed directly to Sirius Black's death later, when Voldemort manipulated Harry through false visions. Severus carried that burden too afterward, because this became another terrible pattern inside his double life. Even successful deception carried casualties. People suffered constantly around the hidden war between Voldemort and Dumbledore. Friends died, students faced danger. The pressure surrounding Severus increased every year. Bellatrix Lestrange eventually escaped Azkaban and returned to Voldemort's side with fanatical devotion intact. Unlike Voldemort, Bellatrix distrusted Severus instinctively from the beginning. She questioned why he avoided imprisonment. She questioned his years beside Dumbledore openly. Bellatrix understood something important emotionally. Severus always seemed too controlled, too careful, too distant from true fanaticism. And because Bellatrix genuinely worshipped Voldemort, she viewed calculated restraint as suspicious weakness. Severus handled these accusations the same way he handled everything else, with performance, calm explanations, partial truths, controlled irritation. He never appeared defensive because defensiveness invited scrutiny. Instead, he cultivated image of intelligent strategists surrounded by fools too emotional to understand subtlety. The act worked remarkably well, but maintaining it required endless effort. Every conversation became layered with hidden meanings. Every alliance contained deception. Every moment demanded emotional precision. By now, Severus Snape's double life no longer resembled ordinary espionage at all. It had become existence itself, a man carrying different truths for different audiences, a spy trusted by both greatest wizard of the age and darkest wizard alive, a protector hated by the very people he protected. And somewhere beneath every lie remained the frightened certainty that one mistake would destroy everything forever. By the time Harry Potter entered his 6th year at Hogwarts, Severus Snape had spent nearly 2 decades living between lies. Most people inside the castle still believed they understood him. Students feared him. Members of the Order distrusted him cautiously. Death Eaters respected him uneasily. Harry viewed him as dangerous and vindictive. None of them understood how close Severus stood to complete collapse. The burden of his double life had grown heavier every year since Voldemort's return. The Dark Lord trusted him more now than almost any surviving follower. Dumbledore depended on him more than ever. And beneath all of it, war spread steadily across Britain once again. Disappearances filled the newspapers. Families abandoned homes. Dementors left Azkaban and joined Voldemort openly. Fear settled over the wizarding world with familiar coldness. At Hogwarts, however, another quieter tragedy unfolded hidden from students almost entirely. Albus Dumbledore was dying. The process began when Dumbledore destroyed Marvolo Gaunt's ring, later revealed to contain one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. The ring carried devastating curse magic and powerful enough to kill almost instantly. Only Severus's extraordinary potion knowledge prevented immediate death. Even so, the damage could not truly be reversed. Blackened curse marks spread slowly across Dumbledore's hand, while hidden weakness deepened beneath his calm exterior. Severus understood the truth quickly. Dumbledore had perhaps 1 year remaining at most. The realization transformed everything. For years, Dumbledore served as anchor holding Severus's fractured existence together. The old wizard understood the entire structure of secrets surrounding him. Without Dumbledore, Severus would stand completely alone between Voldemort and the Order. And now, death approached, inevitably. Yet even this was not the worst burden waiting for him. Another dangerous thread entered the story through Draco Malfoy. During the summer before Harry's 6th year, Narcissa Malfoy arrived secretly at Spinner's End, accompanied by Bellatrix Lestrange. The scene unfolded beneath darkness and rain, while Severus sat alone inside the old house where his childhood once unfolded. The rooms remained narrow and dim, filled with silence and memories. Narcissa appeared terrified. Lucius Malfoy had fallen from Voldemort's favor after the disaster at the Department of Mysteries. Punishment followed swiftly. Voldemort assigned Draco impossible mission as both test and threat. The young Slytherin boy received secret orders to kill Albus Dumbledore personally. Failure would almost certainly destroy the Malfoy family completely. Narcissa understood this. Bellatrix understood something else. She distrusted Severus deeply. The conversation inside Spinner's End became one of the finest examples of Severus's layered deception ever witnessed openly. Bellatrix questioned him relentlessly, while Narcissa pleaded desperately nearby. Why had Severus remained at Hogwarts all these years? Why did Dumbledore trust him? Why had he avoided Azkaban, while loyal Death Eaters suffered imprisonment? Every accusation carried deadly potential, yet Severus answered calmly throughout. His explanations blended truth and manipulation so perfectly that Bellatrix struggled finding weakness in them. Yes, Dumbledore trusted him. Yes, he remained at Hogwarts intentionally. Yes, he occasionally appeared inactive compared to more openly violent Death Eaters. But Severus reframed caution as strategic brilliance rather than cowardice. Voldemort valued usefulness above reckless fanaticism. He reminded Bellatrix repeatedly. Severus positioned himself near Dumbledore precisely because patience offered greater advantage than prison or martyrdom ever could. The performance succeeded because much of it was technically true. That always remained Severus's greatest strength as liar. He rarely invented complete falsehoods unnecessarily. Instead, he rearranged truth carefully until listeners reached incorrect conclusions naturally. Bellatrix never fully trusted him, but Voldemort did, and that mattered more. Then Narcissa asked something far more dangerous. She begged Severus to protect Draco. The request carried enormous weight emotionally, because Draco Malfoy represented many things simultaneously. Student, Death Eater's son, child caught inside war before fully understanding it. Severus recognized aspects of his own younger self inside Draco's fear and desperation. Bellatrix protested immediately when Narcissa requested the unbreakable vow. The magical oath carried absolute consequence. Breaking its terms meant death. Most witches and wizards avoided such magic entirely because it removed all possibility of failure safely. Severus agreed anyway. Perhaps he already understood Dumbledore's plan by then. Perhaps he recognized how events would eventually unfold atop the Astronomy Tower. Either way, Severus accepted the vow calmly while magical fire wrapped around joined hands. He promised to protect Draco. And if Draco failed to kill Dumbledore, Severus promised to complete the task himself. The moment changed everything, because until then, Severus still balanced between separate worlds through deception and intelligence primarily. Now fate itself narrowed towards singular, terrible destination. He would eventually need to kill Albus Dumbledore publicly. Shortly afterward, Dumbledore confirmed exactly that. Their conversation revealed how deeply complicated their relationship had become over the years. Dumbledore explained the curse killing him slowly. He also explained why Draco's mission mattered strategically. Voldemort intended the assignment partly as punishment for Lucius, and partly as test of loyalty. If Draco failed, Voldemort expected consequences. Severus listened while understanding the inevitable shape of events ahead. Then Dumbledore asked the unthinkable. When the moment arrived, Severus must kill him personally. At first glance, the request sounded monstrous, even by wartime standards. Yet Dumbledore's reasoning followed brutal logic. Draco's soul might survive intact if prevented from murder. Voldemort's trust in Severus would strengthen completely afterward. The Elder Wand's allegiance could become confused strategically, and most importantly, Dumbledore wished to die on his own terms, rather than through slow curse deterioration or Bellatrix's torture. Still, the emotional burden placed upon Severus became enormous. Killing Dumbledore would transform him permanently in the eyes of almost everyone alive. Members of the Order would despise him. Hogwarts students would fear him utterly. Harry Potter would never forgive him. Even history itself would likely remember him only as traitor. Yet Severus agreed, because loyalty to Dumbledore had long ago evolved beyond ordinary obedience. The old wizard represented purpose, punishment, and the closest thing Severus possessed to redemption. Refusing the request would unravel years of sacrifice instantly. So he accepted another unbearable secret. Throughout Harry's 6th year, Severus carried this knowledge silently while events unfolded around him. Draco struggled desperately with Voldemort's impossible assignment. Cabinets malfunctioned. Students suffered mysterious attacks. Tension spread through Hogwarts corridors. Harry suspected Draco constantly. Harry also distrusted Severus more deeply than ever after overhearing fragments about the unbreakable vow. The irony remained painful throughout. Harry correctly sensed danger surrounding Draco and Snape, yet misunderstood the deeper structure entirely. Severus genuinely protected Draco behind the scenes, while also preparing for Dumbledore's eventual death. Every interaction became layered with hidden meaning. Meanwhile, Severus finally achieved long-denied ambition at Hogwarts. Dumbledore appointed him defense against the dark arts professor after years teaching potions instead. The change mattered symbolically because Severus desired the position since youth, yet the promotion arrived attached to terrible circumstances. Dumbledore was already dying, and Severus now carried secret responsibility for ending his life. At the same time, Voldemort's trust in Severus continued growing steadily. Information passed between them more frequently. The Dark Lord increasingly relied on Severus's reports from Hogwarts and the Order. Bellatrix still distrusted him emotionally, but even she could not deny Voldemort valued him highly now. This placed Severus in extraordinary position strategically. If he completed the coming task successfully, he would become perhaps Voldemort's most trusted servant alive. But the price would isolate him almost completely from everyone else. Sometimes during these months, Severus likely recognized how utterly alone he had become. He could not explain truth to Draco, could not comfort Harry, could not reveal Dumbledore's wishes publicly, could not fully trust the Order or Death Eaters. His entire existence narrowed into performance and obligation. And still, he continued moving toward the inevitable moment atop the Astronomy Tower. Because by now, Severus Snape understood something terrible about himself. He had spent so many years sacrificing reputation, friendship, and emotional connection for hidden missions that eventually he stopped expecting anyone to understand him at all. Perhaps part of him even believed misunderstanding was deserved. After all, Lily Potter remained dead because of his choices. no amount of loyalty to Dumbledore could erase that original sin completely. So when the old headmaster finally asked for death itself, Severus accepted the burden with same exhausted obedience he carried everything else, quietly, alone, behind another lie. As the school year moved slowly toward its end, Hogwarts became filled with invisible tension. Students still attended lessons beneath floating candles. Quidditch conversations drifted through crowded corridors. Snow melted from the castle grounds while spring rain darkened ancient stone walls outside the windows. To many younger students, Hogwarts still felt eternal and protected. But beneath that familiar rhythm, Severus Snape lived each day, waiting for catastrophe. Draco Malfoy's desperation worsened steadily across the year. The boy grew pale and exhausted. Haunted by fear, he tried desperately to conceal behind arrogance. His attempts to repair the vanishing cabinet consumed him almost completely. Students were injured by cursed objects, meant as distractions, or failed assassination attempts against Dumbledore. Katie Bell nearly died. Ron Weasley collapsed after drinking poisoned mead. Each incident increased pressure upon Draco, while also deepening Severus's burden. Because Severus alone understood the entire structure surrounding these events. Draco acted under Voldemort's orders. Dumbledore already knew death approached. The school itself remained vulnerable from within. And somewhere ahead waited the moment Severus promised. Both Narcissa, Malfoy, and Dumbledore would eventually come. The knowledge isolated him completely. Harry Potter sensed danger throughout the year, more strongly than most people realized. He watched Draco obsessively, convinced the Slytherin student had become Death Eater officially. Once again, Harry's instincts moved close to truth, while missing crucial details entirely. Severus maintained cold distance throughout all of it. Their interactions grew even more hostile after Harry acquired the old potions textbook, once belonging to the Half-Blood Prince. Ironically, Harry achieved sudden success in potions class, using Severus's own handwritten instructions without understanding their origin. Professor Slughorn praised Harry repeatedly, while Severus watched with complicated silence. At times, Harry unknowingly repeated Severus's own innovations back to him years after they were first scribbled into margins by lonely Slytherin student, desperate to prove his worth. The situation carried strange emotional cruelty. Then came the Sectum Sempra incident. During confrontation inside a bathroom, Harry used the curse against Draco without understanding its true effects. The spell slashed Draco violently across chest and body, while blood spread rapidly across the floor tiles. Panic filled the room instantly. Severus arrived moments later. The reaction revealed something important beneath his cold exterior. Despite years of emotional restraint, Severus moved with immediate urgency toward the wounded boy. He healed Draco using advanced counter-curses almost instinctively, while fury burned beneath controlled voice. Because Sectum Sempra represented more than dangerous magic to him. It represented his own darkness, returning unexpectedly through another generation. Years earlier, Severus invented the curse privately, while consumed by humiliation and resentment. Now he watched James Potter's son nearly kill Draco Malfoy, using it casually from old textbook notes. The moment forced Severus to confront painful truth again. Hidden violence rarely stays buried forever. Still, even this incident remained overshadowed by larger events approaching rapidly. Late in the school year, Dumbledore left Hogwarts with Harry to retrieve another Horcrux hidden inside cave beside the sea. The journey weakened the old wizard terribly. By the time they returned to Hogwarts during nightfall, Dumbledore could barely stand properly. And at that exact moment, Draco finally succeeded. Death Eaters entered Hogwarts through the repaired vanishing cabinet hidden inside the Room of Requirement. Bellatrix Lestrange, Fenrir Greyback, and others flooded into the castle, while chaos spread rapidly through corridors. Professors attempted defending students. Spells echoed against stone walls. Terror swept through Hogwarts completely. Above all of it stood the Astronomy Tower. Draco cornered weakened Dumbledore there beneath cold night sky, while Harry remained frozen beneath invisibility cloak and magical paralysis. The tower trembled with fear and uncertainty. Wind swept across battlements, while distant sounds of battle rose from below. Draco pointed wand toward Dumbledore with shaking hands, and Severus Snape climbed the stairs. The scene atop the tower became one of the most misunderstood moments in wizarding history. To Harry Potter, hidden nearby beneath Dumbledore's spell, events appeared horrifyingly simple. Draco hesitated. Dumbledore pleaded calmly. Then Severus arrived and betrayed everyone. But the truth carried far more pain beneath the surface. When Severus stepped onto the tower, he already knew exactly what needed to happen. Dumbledore's face showed exhaustion and physical weakness from the cursed potion consumed inside the cave. More importantly, his expression carried silent command. "Severus, please." Harry interpreted the words afterward as desperate begging. In reality, Dumbledore reminded Severus of their agreement. Kill me now. Protect Draco. Maintain Voldemort's trust. The moment stretched endlessly beneath darkness. Draco looked terrified rather than murderous. Death Eaters waited nearby. Bellatrix demanded action from below. Harry watched helplessly beneath invisibility cloak. Dumbledore remained weak and dying already, from cursed magic slowly spreading through his body. And Severus stood between all worlds once again. Teacher, spy, protector, executioner. Perhaps no moment in his life demanded greater emotional violence from him internally. For years, Dumbledore served as only person who truly understood his sacrifices and secrets completely. The old wizard offered purpose after Lily's death, trust after betrayal, structure after collapse. Now Severus needed to murder him publicly. The burden became even crueler, because nobody could ever know the truth immediately afterward. Harry would hate him. Hogwarts would fear him. Members of the Order would call him traitor. Even history itself might remember him only as murderer. Yet Severus still raised his wand and spoke the curse, Avada Kedavra. Green light illuminated the tower briefly, before Dumbledore's body fell backward into darkness below. Silence followed for one terrible second. Then chaos erupted completely. To every witness, Severus Snape had finally revealed his true allegiance at last. Death Eater, murderer, traitor to Hogwarts. The act seemed to confirm every suspicion surrounding him since Harry's first year. Bellatrix herself sounded almost triumphant afterward. Harry reacted with horror and fury once Dumbledore's body disappeared below the tower. The paralysis spell broke. He chased Severus across the grounds, while battle still raged through Hogwarts corridors. Rage fueled every movement. Severus fled alongside Death Eaters, while protecting Harry in strange hidden ways, even during escape. The contradiction remained astonishing. Though publicly exposed now as Dumbledore's killer, Severus still refused allowing Death Eaters to harm Harry directly. When another Death Eater attempted using Cruciatus' curse against Harry, Severus intervened sharply. He guided Harry's spells aside during duel rather than attacking lethally himself. Even while escaping as apparent villain, he continued protecting Lily Potter's son. Their confrontation during flight across Hogwarts grounds revealed another painful layer between them. Harry attacked recklessly through grief and rage. using spells learned from the Half-Blood Prince textbook. Severus blocked them effortlessly, while criticizing Harry's emotional lack of discipline, almost like frustrated teacher rather than enemy combatant. Then Harry attempted Sectum Sempra again. Severus reacted instantly with fury. "You dare use my own spells against me, Potter." In that moment, Harry finally learned the truth. Professor Snape was the Half-Blood Prince. The revelation carried bitter symbolism. The mysterious figure Harry unknowingly admired through potion notes and spellcraft turned out to be the same professor he despised most deeply. Once again, Severus's life revealed itself built from contradictions impossible to separate neatly. Before disappearing into darkness with the other Death Eaters, Severus delivered one final cruel truth to Harry. He called Harry weak emotionally, mocking his inability to control anger properly during battle. To Harry, the words sounded simply vicious, but beneath them lingered hidden warning. Emotion without discipline becomes vulnerability. Voldemort understood that lesson perfectly. Afterward, Hogwarts fell into mourning. Students cried openly inside corridors. Teachers struggled processing shock. The Order of the Phoenix reeled from devastating loss. Rumors spread rapidly through Wizarding Britain that Severus Snape murdered Albus Dumbledore atop the Astronomy Tower. Almost nobody questioned the story. From outside perspective, the evidence seemed complete. Former Death Eater finally revealed true loyalties. Trusted spy betrayed Hogwarts. Dumbledore died because he trusted wrong man. The tragedy of Severus's life reached its peak in that misunderstanding, because the murder succeeded strategically, almost perfectly. Voldemort's trust strengthened completely afterward. Draco's soul remained intact. Dumbledore avoided slower, uglier death from cursed ring magic. The Elder Wand's allegiance became tangled unexpectedly. Everything proceeded exactly as planned. Except now, Severus stood utterly alone. The Order hated him. Harry hated him. Students feared him. Even portraits inside Hogwarts likely whispered about betrayal after dark. And Severus accepted all of it silently, because revealing truth would destroy the entire purpose behind Dumbledore's sacrifice. So once again, he carried unbearable reality hidden beneath appearance. To the wizarding world, Severus Snape became greatest traitor Hogwarts had ever known, and to protect everyone else, he allowed them to believe it. After Albus Dumbledore's death, Hogwarts no longer felt like the same castle. The old rhythms remained on the surface. Candles still floated above the Great Hall. Rain still tapped softly against tall windows during autumn storms. Students still carried books through moving staircases and crowded corridors. But something ancient inside the school had changed. Fear settled into the stone itself. The Ministry of Magic fell soon afterward beneath Voldemort's control, though many ordinary witches and wizards did not fully understand it at first. Familiar officials disappeared quietly. Newspapers transformed into instruments of propaganda. Muggle-born registration commissions began hunting innocent families beneath official authority. And at Hogwarts, Severus Snape became headmaster. To most of the wizarding world, the appointment confirmed every terrible suspicion surrounding him. The man who murdered Dumbledore now ruled the castle on Voldemort's behalf. Parents whispered nervously about sending children back to school at all. Students arrived carrying dread rather than excitement. The irony was painful, because beneath the black robes and cold authority, Severus still viewed Hogwarts as something worth protecting. Even now, especially now. The castle itself remained strategically important to Voldemort. Controlling Hogwarts meant controlling future generations, magical education, and symbolic power. Yet Voldemort himself cared little about ordinary students beyond obedience and ideological shaping. Others beneath him cared even less. Alecto and Amicus Caro soon arrived at Hogwarts as teachers under the new regime. Their presence transformed daily life inside the castle almost immediately. Amicus taught dark arts openly while using torture as classroom discipline. Alecto spread anti-Muggle propaganda with fanatic cruelty. Students suffered constantly beneath them. Children learned fear not from whispers anymore, but from direct punishment. And standing above all of it sat Headmaster Severus Snape. To outsiders, he appeared complicit in everything. Students rarely saw the hidden limits he imposed quietly behind the scenes. Punishments assigned by the Carrows often became detentions inside the Forbidden Forest, with Hagrid rather than true torture whenever Severus could redirect them subtly. Certain students disappeared from disciplinary lists mysteriously. Information leaked carefully towards safer channels when possible, but Severus could never oppose the Carrows openly. That was the cruel reality of his position. Every protective action required concealment. If Voldemort suspected softness toward students or disloyalty toward Death Eater authority, everything Dumbledore built would collapse instantly. Severus needed to remain believable as Voldemort's servant above all else, so he maintained the performance relentlessly. Students feared him more than ever now. His black robes sweeping through corridors beneath torchlight became symbol of occupied Hogwarts itself. Portraits watched silently as he passed. Teachers avoided him cautiously. Even Minerva McGonagall viewed him with cold hatred after Dumbledore's death. Only a handful of people suspected deeper truth at all, and even they knew almost nothing fully. The loneliness surrounding Severus during this period became nearly absolute. Years earlier, he at least possessed Dumbledore as secret ally and confidant. Now the old wizard existed only as memory inside portraits and hidden plans. Severus carried the burden of those plans entirely alone, while Voldemort's influence tightened around Britain every month. Sometimes he walked the corridors late at night, after students disappeared into dormitories. The castle remained strangely quiet then, except for distant wind and moving staircases groaning softly through darkness. Torchlight flickered against stone walls, while shadows stretched endlessly through empty passageways. Perhaps during those silent walks, Severus remembered earlier versions of Hogwarts. Lily laughing beside windows during snowfall. Students studying peacefully before war returned. Dumbledore standing beneath enchanted ceiling during safer years. Now the school belonged partly to Voldemort, and Severus stood trapped at its center, pretending loyalty to the very darkness he secretly tried limiting. The emotional strain must have been exhausting beyond words. Meanwhile, Harry Potter remained absent from Hogwarts entirely during this final school year. Rumors spread constantly about his whereabouts. Some students whispered that Harry planned resistance. Others feared he might already be dead. Severus listened to these rumors carefully, without revealing emotion. Protecting Harry remained central mission even now, though circumstances had become far more dangerous than before. Voldemort obsessed over finding Harry increasingly, as Horcruxes disappeared mysteriously one by one. Every failure intensified paranoia and violence among Death Eaters, and Severus knew something Harry himself still did not. Eventually, Harry Potter would need to die. This truth formed perhaps the darkest burden Dumbledore left behind. Years earlier, Severus learned from Dumbledore that Voldemort accidentally transferred a fragment of his soul into Harry the night Lily died. The realization horrified him because it transformed Harry from protected child into necessary sacrifice eventually. When Dumbledore first revealed the plan, Severus reacted with genuine fury. "You have been raising him like a pig for slaughter." The accusation revealed emotional truth rarely visible from Severus openly. Despite years of bitterness toward Harry, he did not want the boy dead. Protecting Harry because of Lily eventually evolved into something deeper and more complicated than obligation alone. Yet Dumbledore insisted the sacrifice remained necessary. So Severus carried another terrible secret silently through Hogwarts corridors, while students feared him as villain. This became the defining tragedy of his final year. Nobody understood the full weight he carried. Not the students whispering about cruel headmaster Snape, not the teachers grieving Dumbledore, not even Voldemort himself. Every role Severus performed contradicted hidden truth beneath it. As headmaster, he represented Voldemort publicly. Privately, he protected students whenever possible. Publicly, he hunted Harry Potter. Privately, he waited for right moment to help him fulfill Dumbledore's final plan. Publicly, he enforced harsh order. Privately, he resisted complete collapse of Hogwarts into true nightmare. Yet the resistance remained painfully limited. Students still suffered under the Carrows. Neville Longbottom, Ginny Weasley, and Luna Lovegood openly challenged the regime through underground rebellion. Punishments followed quickly afterward. Neville especially endured repeated brutality while continuing resistance anyway. Severus watched these events carefully. Some students later interpreted his lack of visible intervention as proof of cruelty, but direct protection would only expose him and worsen conditions long term. Survival inside Voldemort's inner circle required constant compromise with visible evil. That compromise slowly poisoned everything. Even the physical atmosphere of Hogwarts seemed dimmer during these months. Fear changed ordinary student behavior. Hallways grew quieter. Laughter became rarer. The castle itself appeared to hold breath, waiting for inevitable confrontation, approaching somewhere beyond the horizon. Then, Harry finally returned. Late one night, rumors spread rapidly through the castle that Harry Potter entered Hogwarts searching for something hidden. Students gathered secretly inside the Room of Requirement, while teachers prepared for battle almost instinctively. Voldemort's forces surrounded the grounds outside, and Severus stood once again between impossible loyalties. When Minerva McGonagall confronted him inside the Great Hall, the tension surrounding them felt enormous. Teachers expected battle. Students watched from shadows. Portraits stared down silently while war approached the castle directly at last. To everyone else, Severus remained enemy. The duel with McGonagall carried strange hidden restraint from the beginning. Severus defended himself skillfully while redirecting spells toward the Carrows, rather than harming McGonagall directly. The detail often goes unnoticed, but it revealed important truth even during apparent conflict. He still protected Hogwarts staff wherever possible. Then, before deeper battle could unfold, Severus fled the castle entirely. Students later celebrated his departure as cowardice or defeat. In reality, remaining would risk destroying everything strategically. Voldemort still trusted him completely at that point. Maintaining that trust remained essential because final pieces of Dumbledore's plan had not yet unfolded. So Severus abandoned Hogwarts publicly one final time beneath storm and fire. Behind him, the Battle of Hogwarts erupted fully. Giants attacked castle walls. Spells illuminated darkness. Students, teachers, parents, and order members fought desperately through corridors Severus once patrolled silently as lonely child. And somewhere outside the castle, Voldemort prepared for final confrontation, believing Severus Snape remained utterly loyal to him at last. The cruelest part of Severus's entire double life may have been this. He succeeded too well. His performance as traitor became so convincing that almost nobody alive still questioned it anymore. Not the students, not the Order, not Voldemort, not even Harry Potter. And so, the man who spent decades protecting Hogwarts from shadows left the castle hated by nearly everyone inside it, alone once again, exactly as he always expected. By the final hours of the Second Wizarding War, Severus Snape stood closer to death than he realized. Voldemort gathered his followers inside the Shrieking Shack, while battle raged beyond the castle walls. Spells flashed across the grounds of Hogwarts like distant storms beneath dark sky. Giants moved against ancient stone defenses. Cries echoed through corridors, where students once hurried peacefully toward ordinary lessons. And inside the old shack, hidden beneath the Whomping Willow, Voldemort made fatal mistake born from misunderstanding. The Dark Lord believed the Elder Wand refused serving him properly because Severus Snape killed Albus Dumbledore. Therefore, Voldemort concluded, the wand's true allegiance belonged to Severus. The irony was devastating. After years of surviving impossible deception, after enduring suspicion, isolation, and hatred from nearly everyone alive, Severus faced death because Voldemort misunderstood loyalty once again. Nagini struck without warning. The serpent's attack tore through Severus violently, while Voldemort departed immediately afterward, convinced death would transfer wand allegiance properly. Blood spread across the floorboards, while shattered glass reflected pale light around the room. For the first time in decades, Severus Snape no longer needed to maintain performance. The lies were ending. Harry Potter arrived moments later beneath invisibility cloak, alongside Ron and Hermione. For years, Severus avoided emotional honesty with Harry completely. Now death removed remaining barriers abruptly. His final request revealed everything. Take it. Take it. Memories poured from Severus's mind like silver strands into Harry's flask. Not explanations spoken aloud, not dramatic confession, simply truth preserved inside memory itself. Because Severus understood something important, even at the edge of death. Only memory could explain him properly now. Words alone would never suffice. After Severus died inside the Shrieking Shack, Harry carried those memories into Dumbledore's pensive. And there, at last, the hidden structure of Severus Snape's entire life revealed itself piece by piece. The experience transformed everything. For years, Harry viewed Severus through fragmented moments filled with bitterness and misunderstanding. Cruel teacher, Death Eater, murderer, Dumbledore's betrayer. Every memory inside the pensive dismantled those assumptions slowly. The story began again beside the river in Cokeworth. Young Severus appeared thin, lonely, and awkward beneath grey skies, while watching Lily Evans perform accidental magic nearby. Harry witnessed the beginnings of friendship long before Hogwarts divided them. The shy excitement in Severus's voice while explaining magic to Lily felt almost unrecognizable beside the bitter professor Harry knew. Yet even these earliest memories contained sadness already. Spinner's End looked small and unhappy. Tobias Snape's shouting echoed through walls. Eileen Prince appeared faded and exhausted. Harry suddenly understood that Severus's childhood carried isolation long before Hogwarts' cruelty deepened it further. Then came Hogwarts memories. Lily smiling beside Severus near the lake. The sorting dividing them into separate houses. James Potter and Sirius Black mocking Severus publicly. The humiliation beside the Black Lake unfolded from Severus's perspective now, rather than Harry's inherited assumptions about his father. James no longer appeared charming, heroic figure in these memories. He appeared arrogant, cruel, and careless with power. Harry experienced uncomfortable realization. His father deeply hurt Severus for years. This truth complicated everything emotionally, because Harry spent childhood idealizing James Potter through stories and photographs. Now he saw frightened, humiliated teenage Severus hanging upside down before laughing students while Lily tried defending him. And then came the word, mudblood. Harry witnessed the exact moment Severus destroyed his friendship with Lily permanently. The regret appeared immediate and genuine. So did Lily's disappointment afterward. Watching Severus beg outside Gryffindor Tower revealed emotional vulnerability Harry never imagined possible. But the memories continued. Harry saw Severus among Death Eaters afterward, not triumphant or joyful, but cold and divided. He watched the prophecy scene unfold inside the Hog's Head. He saw Severus carry information to Voldemort without understanding consequences fully yet. Then came realization. Lily Potter became target because of Severus. The horror inside those memories felt undeniable. Harry watched Severus beg Voldemort for Lily's life desperately. He watched the meeting with Dumbledore, where shame and selfishness stood, exposed brutally. "You disgust me." Dumbledore's judgment struck with painful accuracy, because Severus initially cared only for Lily's survival rather than James or Harry. Yet the memories did not stop there. Harry watched Severus after Lily's death collapsing emotionally beneath unbearable guilt. He saw Dumbledore recruit him fully afterward. He witnessed the promise forming slowly between them. Protect the boy. At this point, Harry began understanding something almost impossible emotionally. Every cruel interaction with Professor Snape existed alongside hidden protection all those years. The Quidditch match during first year, the counter curse protecting Harry's broom, the suspicions surrounding Quirrell, the constant surveillance whenever danger approached. All of it transformed beneath new context. Even smaller moments changed meaning now. Snape's rage during occlumency lessons no longer appeared simple hatred, once Harry understood how painful James Potter memories remained. The fixation on Harry's recklessness reflected fear as much as resentment. The insults concealed emotional conflict too deep for ordinary expression. Then came one of the most revealing memories of all. Dumbledore speaking quietly with Severus beside dark office windows after Harry's 5th year. The old wizard explained that Harry himself contained fragment of Voldemort's soul and eventually needed to die. Severus reacted with genuine fury. "You have kept him alive so that he can die at the right moment." The anger exposed truth Harry never expected. Severus did not want him sacrificed. For years, Harry assumed Professor Snape despised him completely. Yet here stood proof that Severus cared enough to feel horror at the idea of Harry's death. Dumbledore responded calmly about necessity and greater purpose. Then, Severus asked a question that shattered remaining emotional distance entirely. "Have you grown to care for the boy, after all?" Silence followed, and then Severus cast his Patronus. A silver doe moved through darkness, shining softly before Dumbledore's astonished eyes. After all this time, always, the moment revealed the deepest truth hidden beneath Severus Snape's entire life. Everything traced back toward Lily Evans. Not obsession alone, though obsession certainly existed. Not merely guilt either, but enduring love powerful enough to survive humiliation, separation, war, and decades of secrecy. The Patronus itself carried devastating symbolism because Patronuses reflect deepest inner selves. Severus's doe matched Lily's exactly. Even after her death, even after years spent living among spies and murderers, Lily remained central truth inside him. Harry finally understood why Dumbledore trusted Severus completely. Because Voldemort never understood love strongly enough to suspect it fully. The memories continued through darker revelations afterward. Harry witnessed Dumbledore and Severus planning the old wizard's death together after curse damage from the ring became irreversible. He saw Severus agreeing reluctantly to kill Dumbledore for Draco's sake and strategic necessity. Suddenly, the Astronomy Tower transformed completely. Severus did not murder Dumbledore through betrayal. He fulfilled final request from dying man trying to protect others. Even Severus's flight from Hogwarts afterward gained new meaning. His restraint during duel with Harry, his protection against other Death Eaters, his fury at Harry using Sectum Sempra. Every piece fit together differently now. The pensive forced Harry to confront painful truth. Severus Snape spent nearly entire adult life sacrificing reputation, safety, and emotional peace for promises nobody else fully understood. And he did it while remaining hated by almost everyone involved. Perhaps that became the cruelest aspect of all. James Potter died admired and heroic. Sirius Black died loved by Harry. Dumbledore died mourned by the wizarding world. But Severus died alone inside the shrieking shack, while nearly everyone believed him monster. Only afterward did truth emerge. And even then, the truth remained complicated rather than clean. The memories did not erase Severus's cruelty. Students genuinely feared him. Neville Longbottom genuinely suffered beneath his teaching. Harry himself endured years of bitterness and humiliation from him unnecessarily. The pensive revealed humanity, not perfection. Severus remained harsh, damaged, resentful, and emotionally cruel in many ways. But he was also brave beyond ordinary imagination, because true courage for Severus rarely looked noble or glorious. It looked like silence. It looked like enduring hatred without defending himself. It looked like protecting people who distrusted him completely. It looked like living every day beside Voldemort while hiding thoughts carefully enough to survive. And at the center of everything remained one impossible contradiction. Severus Snape, former Death Eater, spent decades risking his life for Harry Potter because he loved Harry's mother so completely that even death failed to end it. By the time Harry stepped away from the pensive, the world itself seemed rearranged. Professor Snape no longer existed merely as enemy or traitor. He became something far more tragic, a man who told lies for so long that only memory itself could finally reveal who he truly was. After the Battle of Hogwarts ended and the fires slowly faded from the ruined castle walls, the wizarding world faced difficult questions about many people. Some answers came easily. Voldemort remained monster beyond argument. Bellatrix Lestrange became symbol of fanatic cruelty. Fred Weasley, Remus Lupin, Nymphadora Tonks, and countless others were remembered openly as heroes lost in battle. But Severus Snape did not fit neatly into any category people understood comfortably. Even after Harry Potter revealed the truth about him, confusion remained. Students remembered cruel detentions and cold humiliation inside dungeon classrooms. Members of the Order remembered years of suspicion and apparent betrayal. Former Death Eaters remembered him as trusted servant of Voldemort. Survivors from Hogwarts remembered dark robes sweeping through occupied corridors while the Carrows ruled beside him. At the same time, Harry now carried memories proving something astonishing. Severus Snape had also been one of the bravest men he ever knew. The contradiction became impossible to ignore. In the months following the war, stories about Severus spread slowly across magical Britain. Some details remained secret for a long time. Others emerged through testimony from Harry himself and surviving members of the Order who gradually learned more about Dumbledore's plans. Yet even truth failed simplifying him. People wanted heroes uncomplicated by cruelty. They wanted villains untouched by sacrifice. Severus refused fitting either shape completely. Perhaps that is why discussions about him never truly ended. Inside Hogwarts itself, memories of Severus lingered everywhere. Students still remembered the sound of his footsteps approaching dungeon corridors. Potions classrooms still contained old notes and corrected instructions written in sharp black ink. Certain cupboards remained organized according to systems only Severus fully understood. Empty rooms carried traces of ingredients and smoke long after his death. The castle remembered him in complicated ways too. Portraits whispered differently about him now after learning more truth. Some professors who once distrusted him struggled privately with guilt afterward. Minerva McGonagall especially understood the tragedy more clearly once Dumbledore's plans became fully known. She had dueled Severus, believing him murderer. Now she realized he carried unbearable burdens almost entirely alone. Harry himself changed profoundly after seeing Severus's memories. For years, hatred toward Professor Snape shaped much of his experience at Hogwarts. He interpreted every insult, punishment, and suspicious action through simple assumption that Snape despised him absolutely. The pensive destroyed that certainty forever, not because it erased Severus's flaws, but because it forced Harry to see the wounded human being hidden beneath them. James Potter's cruelty became impossible to ignore afterward. Lily Evans's importance explained decades of hidden sacrifice. Even Snape's harshness appeared differently once Harry understood how much bitterness and regret shaped his personality long before Harry himself existed. Eventually, Harry made decision, surprising many people. Years later, when naming his own children, he chose the name Albus Severus Potter for one of his sons. The choice carried enormous symbolic weight. To outsiders, naming child after Dumbledore made perfect sense. But placing Severus beside that name shocked many people who still remembered Professor Snape primarily through fear and bitterness. Harry understood the meaning differently. By naming his son after Severus, Harry acknowledged complexity rather than perfection. He honored courage existing alongside cruelty, sacrifice existing alongside failure, love existing beneath years of resentment and secrecy. Most importantly, Harry recognized something few others fully grasped. Severus Snape spent much of his life protecting people who would never thank him for it. That kind of loneliness leaves scars difficult to measure. Yet even with Harry's defense, debate surrounding Severus never disappeared completely. Some argued his love for Lily remained obsessive rather than healthy. Others pointed toward his treatment of students, especially Neville Longbottom, as evidence that bravery alone cannot erase emotional cruelty. Critics questioned whether protecting Harry truly redeemed years spent willingly among Death Eaters earlier in life. These arguments carried truth too. Severus Snape was never gentleman, hidden beneath false reputation. He genuinely wounded people emotionally. He often chose cruelty when kindness remained possible. He projected old bitterness onto children who did not deserve it. And yet the opposite truth also remained unavoidable. Very few people could have endured what Severus endured without breaking completely. Living beside Voldemort while hiding true loyalty demanded constant psychological torture. Every conversation carried risk of exposure. Every emotional reaction required control. Every mistake threatened not only his own death, but collapse of Dumbledore's plans entirely. Most people celebrating heroism never faced that kind of sustained terror. Severus did for years, alone, without recognition, without comfort. and always beneath assumption that history itself would likely remember him as villain. Perhaps the most revealing detail about Severus's character is this: he continued anyway, not because reward waited afterward, not because public redemption seemed likely. In fact, Severus probably expected hatred permanently by the end. The role of traitor became too convincing, too complete. But he kept moving forward because of promises made long ago, beside grief and guilt, to Lily, to Dumbledore, and eventually, in strange, reluctant way, to Harry himself. As years passed after the war, the wizarding world slowly rebuilt again. Hogwarts repaired broken towers and shattered walls. New students arrived each September carrying ordinary fears about sorting and homework rather than war. Quidditch returned. Feasts filled the Great Hall once more beneath enchanted ceiling. Life continued, as it always does. But certain stories remained woven permanently into the castle's history. Students heard whispers about Severus Snape eventually. Some professors described him cautiously during lessons about the war. Others avoided discussing him altogether because the emotions surrounding his memory remained complicated even decades later. And perhaps that complexity was appropriate. Simple stories rarely tell truth about real people. Severus Snape spent entire life divided between identities: poor child and gifted student, victim and bully, Death Eater and protector, spy and teacher, coward in certain moments and extraordinarily brave in others. Even his love for Lily carried contradiction inside it: beautiful devotion mixed with possessiveness and regret, genuine sacrifice mixed with unresolved obsession. Nothing about him remained entirely pure or entirely corrupt. The older Harry grew, the more he likely understood this. As young boy, Harry wanted heroes clearly separated from villains, because childhood often demands simplicity. Adulthood revealed something harder. People carry light and darkness together, more often than stories admit comfortably. Severus embodied that truth completely. Perhaps this explains why his memory lingered so powerfully after death, not because people agreed about him, but because they could not agree. Every discussion returned towards same difficult questions. Can courage redeem cruelty? Can love survive inside damaged person? Can someone spend years serving evil and still become worthy of forgiveness later? No final answers existed. Even Dumbledore himself, wise as he was, manipulated Severus ruthlessly at times. Even Harry, who defended Severus publicly, never claimed his former professor was kind or emotionally healthy. But Harry did believe one thing, absolutely by the end. Severus Snape was loyal. Not loyal in simple political sense. Loyal in deeper, almost tragic way that consumed entire life. Once Severus committed himself to protecting Lily's son and defeating Voldemort, he surrendered everything else gradually in service to that purpose: reputation, friendship, peace, possibly even happiness itself. And in the end, he died still misunderstood by almost everyone around him. There is something profoundly lonely about that fate. Perhaps somewhere within Hogwarts, inside quiet dungeon classrooms or empty corridors lit softly by torchlight, traces of Severus Snape still lingered afterward in memory alone. The boy from Spinner's End who once dreamed of becoming powerful enough never to feel helpless again. The student humiliated beside the Black Lake. The young man who carried prophecy toward Voldemort without understanding what it would cost. The spy who spent decades lying so convincingly that truth itself nearly disappeared beneath the performance. And beneath every version of him remained one constant reality. Severus Snape loved Lily Evans until the very end. Everything else in his life grew around that truth, like shadows around candlelight. His lies, his sacrifices, his bitterness, his courage. All of it began there, and all of it ended there too. And so, as the candles burn lower in the quiet halls of Hogwarts, the story of Severus Snape comes to an end, not with triumph, but with silence. He was never the hero students imagined in their stories, and he was never the monster many believed him to be either. Instead, he lived somewhere painfully in between, carrying love, bitterness, regret, and loyalty together for most of his life. Long after the war ended, people continued arguing about who Severus Snape truly was. But perhaps that uncertainty is the most honest answer of all. Human lives are rarely simple, and Snape's life was built almost entirely from contradictions. A lonely boy from Spinner's End became one of the most important spies in wizarding history. A former Death Eater spent years protecting the child of his greatest rival. A man feared by generations of students quietly helped bring down the darkest wizard alive. And through every lie he told, every secret he carried, and every sacrifice he made, one memory remained beside him until the very end. The memory of Lily Evans.